high. Feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me move. You can make me move. Can make me. So alive, make it last forever. Stop in time, yeah, I'm surrendering. Hold tight, chemicals collide.
Hello everyone and welcome to the match that probably can be counted as one of the biggest matches in the snooker history when you talk about the matches featuring the overseas players, as it is going to be the man that managed to bring the most out of the academies and every snooker level in China, and how he's going to be up against the world champion that has managed to use that red carpet laid by Ding Junhui and be very much the player looking to break the Crucible curse for the very first time after his match with Liam Highfield and his 10-7 win. It's going to be a really interesting match. There is going to be a match of Karen Wilson against Mark Allen on the other table as well. That one is going to have Allen to be winning 5 frames to 3, but ultimately this is what he's all about. Zhao Xington against Ding Junhui. There's going to be plenty of pressure, as Zhao Xington has mentioned, after his match with Liam Highfield, which still, to me, probably comes across as one of the best matches so far at the Crucible for the quality of snooker, but also how, someone like Liam Highfield, that was considered to be probably one of the best draws for Zhao Xington, has managed to make it pretty difficult for the top seed, and that was very much a good game at that point. Mark Allen against Karen Wilson was a little bit of a struggle until the end, where Karen finally managed to find his game to a decent level and overturn a 5-0 gap to 5 frames to 3, but this one is going to be all about Zhao Xington against Ding Junhui, and then of course second session of Mark Allen against Karen Wilson. Quick predictions: we know we've seen Xiao Guodong against Sean Murphy, where Sean managed to take a 5-0 gap himself. Couldn't quite finish the job off yesterday, which I thought he might do, but, at the end point, he only lost 1 frame at the second session and managed to beat Xiao Guodong and make it one less of a player from China to what I'm going to feature in a couple of seconds ago, as he manages to do it with a session to spare. Now Allen is in the building, just waiting for Karen Wilson to go. They're going to be playing on table number 1 as well, which, to be fair, you have got the clash of a former semi-finalist against the world champion of 2024 with Wilson against Allen, and then of course you've got the finalist of 2016 or 17, I always get those two mixed up, of Ding Junhui up against the world champion of 2025. So to be fair, with Wilson and Allen coming out first, you always expect a bit of a different story there for table number 1 reception, but I believe that's going to be down to them already having their match to be started. If Zhao plays average, Ding stand a good chance. Yeah, but what is average for Zhao Xington is probably still better than anything that we've seen this season of Ding Junhui there, because tell me what is the best that Zhao Xington can offer, and I'll tell you, he's still going to be very much, probably better than anything that we've seen of Ding Junhui, because the highlight of the season is that he's through to the round 2 of the World Championship, which, Si Xiaowei didn't manage to do, Li Beifan, Xiao Guodong did, but Joey Long and the likes of, plenty of other Chinese players, which we've actually lost 8 of already. There were 11 coming into this match, and then the likes of Joey Long, Xiao Guodong, Fang Jingyi, Li Beifan, Si Xiaowei have all been eliminated. And It's now going to be down to the last two of Weezer still being in contention at the second round against Mark Selby. Then, of course, one of the players for China will have to exit the equation. Is it going to be Ding the Dragon, Jiu Wei, or is it going to be Zhao the Cyclone Xington? We'll have to wait and see. Right now, it is the Cyclone that is about to take this arena by storm, as it is the 2025 World Champion emerging into the arena. This is going to be probably one of the most important, but probably at the same time, one of the easiest tests I would expect for it to be in order to try and break that Crucible curse. Because I feel like if he is to get through Ding Zhiwei in 2 or 3 sessions, it is going to be a difficult match against Sean Murphy for how well the Magician has been playing against Xiao Guodong, and also at the end where he needed to do that against Fang Jingyi. As now Zhao gets a nice little reception in the crowd as well. He is going to be well loved after winning this tournament back 12 months ago, and it is going to be the battle of the generations. But ultimately, here you go. The guy in the front row with his nice little yellow colour is back again. Surely he must have a special clause or something like that, because that guy's commitment for snooker probably can be, it certainly can't be questioned, but he certainly has to be praised on the level of some of the players out there, because he's been here longer than the likes of Si Xiaowei, the likes of Li Beifan. And by the way, talking about Si Xiaowei, I was saying that he's going to be the man to beat against Hussein Wafai, and he certainly is going to be a great threat against Watchalong. Well, that didn't work out, did it? Because Hussein managed to take that, 9 frame of a win streak that he had against Si Xiaowei. It's a nice break off there by Ding Zhiwei, and gives the turn straight away back to Zhao Xington. Ultimately, I probably would agree with 84% going for Zhao Xington. Based off on the first session, he might get a little bit closer than that, because you never quite know. We've seen a decent performance against David Gilbert for Ding, but at the same time, you feel like at that stage, Gilbert wasn't really playing his best snooker, especially in the first session, and when he was down 7 frames to 2, especially against someone as attacking as Ding, and for someone that plays a similar side of a game as well, it was always going to be a struggle for Gilbert to try and find his way. That's a fantastic shot of trying to make that cue ball pass to blue, but in the end, a minor misjudgment in relation to the red as well. I feel like Ding will be very, will be very surprised if Ding doesn't actually try and put this one back, to be fair, for Zhao. As he's got a couple of options to try and go for a shot into the corner with a long range, but I still would expect the cue ball to be respotted, because it could be a 3-ball miss, and you can see just how close that was to the blue and also to the red. Neither of those two have moved, but both of them could have easily done that. And so far, as you can see, tournament safety success is going to be at 73% for Zhao Xington, which probably is understandable down to the opposition that he had. And this one is probably going to be a little bit too close, because there's no way you're going to be able to get past through to this red here. So I feel like the respot of the cue ball wasn't really as precise, but it's always quite difficult to do without the marker. As you can see, the long pot success, which is probably a little bit low for the standard of Zhao Xington, but it's certainly going to be great in terms of giving foul points away, as the cue ball is about to find the green pocket. Despite him going for another shot, he manages to find that cue ball to be heading straight towards the top right part of the table. So that's going to be another 4 points over to Ding Zhiwei. Tournament average shot time is going to be 22 seconds for Ding Zhiwei and 21 seconds for Zhao Xington. Tournament highest break, 128 for Zhao, 106 for Ding Zhiwei as well. Tournament total points, it's not too far away from each other, especially with how high scoring Zhao Xington is. 1159 for him and 1114 for Ding. Especially if you talk about, Xington had 2 more frames against Liam Highfield, which probably tells you that, Ding Zhiwei's match against David Gilbert was a little bit more high scoring for him. Of course, the miss wouldn't be called this time around, because there was a contact between the cue ball and the reds. And now Ding is trying to just push one more red towards the main bunch, make sure that he avoids the contact with the green, which hasn't really happened. But he's still going to be able to position that cue ball nicely for the right-hand side, as he gives the turn back to Zhao Xington here. So once again, I would probably stick with 6-2 in favour of Zhao, but I feel like there is going to be an early pressure, nerving nerves about it, but ultimately didn't really manage to sort of see those to impact him too much in his first round match against Liam Highfield, especially in the first session. It took a 3-0 lead and finally was able to take a couple of those frames to be lost before eventually managing to get over the line. And once again, I mean, so far his safety shots, he's played 3 safety shots out there, Zhao, and every single one of those 3 has been absolutely dreadful. You know, he's lucky not to give 12 foul points away here to Ding Zhuyi because of the cue ball, how close it was to the right corner. And in the end, he's sort of stuck in the jaws, gone around the table and finished next to the left corner pocket as well. Let's see if Ding has got a chance to try and take a red into the middle, because it seems like he's going to be close in relation to trying to get this red to go past all the other reds and carefully position itself for a shot into the corner. But Ding seems like he's about to send the cue ball very close to the green pocket again. But this time around, he's going to be able to keep the white on the table. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird position, this one, because it's not easy to say where the opening red is going to come from because of the position of the black, because of probably the inability to try and carefully play for the pink into the most important of those pockets, into the right corner, especially for it to be slightly higher up than usual. It's quite difficult for you to try and position yourself for the shot into the left corner, and then, of course, if you're going to try and position the shot for the left or right middle, then it's difficult for you to do that after a long shot because of how much power you probably will have to generate in the cue ball. And of course, if you try and take the white up for a journey for the ball colours, which may be something that Ding is trying to work out here, because the previous shot from Zhao wasn't too good of a safety either. It now leaves Ding with a chance to try and take the red into the corner, and he may be closer to trying to fluke this one into the right part of the table. Wow, that's gone all the way along the side cushion, and Ding is smiling about this one. I've got no idea how he's managed to miss that red by so much of a margin into the left corner, but that's certainly the way for you to get the first spot of the match. And if that's a sign of things to come, we're going to be in here for a lot closer of a match than I provisionally thought. As now this blue is about to be taken. Look at the way that he's managed to actually position himself for the brown, yellow, and especially the blue. If he's got a couple of those reds to try and choose from into the right corner, he certainly stands a great chance of trying to take this break quite far in relation to the points that he scores. But it felt like ideally he wants to try and get on the lower side of the cue ball, trying to play for those reds into the left corner rather than the right hand side of it. So it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but as soon as he gets himself to the black, manages to get a couple of those reds away from black ball spot, it may turn out to be a lot easier of a position than it looks right now. But for now, he's going to take this one with topspin. So trying to take all the power away from the cue ball. Not sure what that was all about. And yeah, he clearly is trying to position himself for the red next to the pink, which is a fair strategy. But it's not really going to be the one that gets him any closer of trying to make this position to be sorted out. And you can see Ding's crucible record is going to be anything short of, no regals for him. As once again, a great red there. Even though he's played a great positional shot, he still had to get that red in. 20 appearances, debuted in 2007, 23 matches that he's won out of 42, so losing 19. Centuries 81, highest break of 141, been to one final against Mark Selby, and that was the only final that he has lost so far. Of course, when it comes to Zhao, he hasn't won a match at the Crucible until his last season's campaign, and of course managing to do that in the first round as well, which clearly has done better than Luca Brissell and Karen Wilson. As now Ding is looking to still try and go for the blue, which he hasn't landed on perfectly. But he can take this one into the yellow pocket. And for now, his spot success doesn't seem like it's going to be too shabby at all. And just having a look on which one of those reds was he playing for. Because that shot on the blue was nice. But unless he's got a plant into the corner, he may have to be a safety shot anyway. So what's it going to be for him? Yeah, he's clearly going to be looking at this plant, but I mean, I've seen a couple of those to be taken. One by Zhao, the other one by Mark Williams today against Barry Hawkins. Very impressive at that point, because the Williams one wasn't looking nowhere near the pocket, and he still managed to take that into a century break. So now, let's see if Ding is going to be able to do that. That one was struck beautifully well in terms of the pot success, and once again, that cue ball was running towards the blue in a perfect line for him. Overrun slightly, but it's always nicer for him to try and overrun, so that he's going to have yellow and brown to back him up in case of trying to, play the shot with a bit too much power, which he has done. But he still should be able to try and take the blue into the left middle. So now, once again, he's going to be a very firm favourite for this frame, as he's going to be Karen Wilson, by the way. as he's taken an early lead against Mark Cullen in that frame number 9. So still going for that streak of 4 frames potentially to be his for the taking, as Ding plays a bit of a weird shot here, because, that shot on the yellow seems like he got too much of the action on the cue ball. Probably why he's smiling about it, because he can't believe how much, life there was in that cue ball space. And, in the end, he's actually overrun for every single one of those reds, even the one that he's going to be positioned super close to the black ball cushion. So, if he takes this one, which he will, he's going to have to try and play that cue ball into another red, and that was never making it to the pocket. And it looks like the same red is, just about going to overcome the middle, which means that it's not going to be playable into that pocket. So it's now going to be down to Zhao to try and find something else, which easier said than done, really, because he's going to have a chance of, trying to take the red which Ding Zhuyi has left him into the yellow pocket. But apart from that, because Ding himself was playing for the black, seems like it is going to be only that red to try and take. That cue is going to be tested, and for now, it seems like he's going to find the back of the pocket really nicely there from Zhao, and it's a fantastic start there from the third time. But to be fair, the previous safety shots don't really matter if you still win this frame, and for now, Zhao certainly put himself in the equation, being 22 points down and being nicely on the blue. And despite not having too many of those reds to play, at least he has got the top side of the blue, but ultimately on the left-hand side of it as well, which is something that Ding wasn't able to do on 23 points that he scored. Of course, 15 of those to come from a break. Let's see if Zhao gets himself through to the black here, and the sooner he does that, the more of a chance that he has to try and take this rake all the way towards him being victorious in the first frame. Play that red really nicely, cannons another red out of the way of the black. So this is going to be interesting to see where the black is going to be respotted. And there's your answer. Although, it's a nice shot there that Zhao has played of getting those 2 reds out of the way. But you should have realised that he still needs to try and play something after this black, which, I don't really understand what he was trying to do, because the lack of power that he played that shot with clearly indicates that he wasn't trying to put the reds over the middle. So maybe just trying to get one of them out of the way and play the second one. In the end, caught both of them. And now, unless he can see past the black, which I don't feel like he can because he would have taken the shot on already, he's going to have to try and end the break on just 14 points to be scored. And get that cue ball to be running all the way to the green pocket here once again. So just having a look to see what the situation with the reds is going to be. For now, it's going to be one of those frames where you just try and get yourself up and running. We've seen that with Shego John. We've seen that with Ronnie O'Sullivan. We've seen that with Zhao and Liam Highfield. But that's going to be a bit of a bad shot there unless he gets cover on the blue, because he was trying to develop the reds. I feel like he's developed one too many there in relation to the right corner pocket, but he does have the perfect cover on the blue, which clearly means unless Ding tries to roll up to that red, which is not really his type of a shot from Zhonghui, and right now he's going to try and probably cover up that red with the blue or the yellow, which once again is a bit of a... It's probably not quite going to be a stalemate, because inevitably one of the players will make a mistake, and it seems like it's going to come sooner rather than later, because to me, that red is going to be playable. At least one of those 3, make that 2. Yes, these are going to be the 2 farther away from the pocket, but still further away, I should say. But I feel like the second closest to the pocket is still going to be the one that you would back Zhao to take usually, but not with 100 miles an hour. That was a bit of a reckless shot there, and he got so many cannons there off the brown, off the black, off the reds, and the cue ball is going to run just about as safe as it was humanly possible. Not really the type of a shot that you would expect Zhao to take on, because he's usually one of those players which he's going to try and back himself to try and go for it. And at the end points, I was really impressed, by the way. Talk about Neil Robertson yesterday against Pang Jing-Su. Had a really good long shot game for himself. And fair play to Neil, because after that 10 frame, it looks like that was going to be one of those matches where could be the repeat of Fang Jingyi against Murphy, where he was taking it all the way, but managed to step up his game really good time. And played some great snooker, especially when it comes to the attacking perspective there, Neil. But ultimately, another praise which you have to give to him is that his short selection has been absolutely brilliant. Really sense that he has been a world champion previously, because, there were a couple of frames where pretty sure he was frame number 14, 15, something like that. And, it was one of those positions where you need to just grind it out point by point. And he was happy to try and stick in there and make sure that he wasn't going to lose another frame at that point. But that's a fantastic long pot there by Zhao Xington. Didn't really see that one coming because I thought there was going to be a red in the way of it. But let's see if he's going to be positioned off into the green. Look at that, how close that was to touching another red. I mean, that was a fantastic long red there by Zhao Xington, but it's only going to bring him 1 point of the break. Let's see if he's going to bring in plenty more points in relation to foul shots there to be made from Ding Junhui. For now, it is Ding to come back to the table here, but the problem is we're down to 9 reds here, and also we're down to all 9 of those reds to be either in a pack, whether there's 3 of them, 2 of 2 and 1 of 3, and there's 2 more reds on the right hand side of the table and one closest to the black ball spot. So yeah, all 9 of them are going to be very far away from any sort of cushions, and I genuinely feel like the best chance for Ding, don't ask me how he's going to get there, but the best chance for him is to try and land on the top side of those 2 reds next to the blue, which once again easier said than done, especially with, usually you could try and play that shot where you sort of send the cue ball towards the blue and the red, make sure that's going to cover the right hand side of the table. It's risky, but any sort of a shot would be risky right now. That's the reason why Zhao Xington was going for that red, so even if he's not on the colour, he's going to try and find himself with scoring a chance like that now, where he's going to leave Ding thinking about it for more than a minute, and he still doesn't seem like he's got anywhere near the solution. In the meantime, it is now going to be Karen Wilson to win 4 on a bounce with a really good break of 71 points, and now he's going to find himself just 1 frame away from trying to complete that comeback and be level in terms of those frames to be won with Mark Allen, which to me, he's lost the momentum there massively as Ding takes it over 100 seconds, and now he's about ready to take this shot on. Is he going to be hit and hope? Seems like to me. And is it? No, it won't be. Seems like he was going to put loads of power behind that shot, but it's a decent line to be fair, because I can understand what he's doing. He's trying to go for the lowest one of those reds, trying to get from it from underneath. Zhao Xington will have a look to see if it's worth for him to be taking a red into the right middle, but I feel like it's not really. Don't really understand what he's trying to look for. And in the end, it was just a precaution to see that he wasn't missing anything, which I feel like Zhao Xington should take a lesson from him, because where the frame where Murphy had 6 or 7 attempts at try and 6-1 or 7-1, yeah, it has to be 8 frames, and one of the things that you have to say about this one is that it will be down to purely those 8 frames to be completed, because there's no way in a million years that we're going to see this session to run out of time because of probably 2 most attacking players that you can possibly imagine to be featuring here. Now then, once again, 1, 2, 3 cushions. This seems to be a lot better, and it's a really nice escape there from Ding Junhui, managing to do that at the time where he was needed. And now he will be down to very much Zhao Xington to try and make this one to work out in his favour. 6-2 and 7. Yeah, I agree with that. I really do agree, but of course the problem with that prediction is that if you're not going to be able to win the first couple of frames, then it will be down to Ding Junhui to try and steady the ship there slightly for himself and try and make sure that this match does go a little bit further than some people, me included, have provisionally thought about. So for now, it's going to be very much the task of trying to take the 3 sessions, something that Zhao Xington hasn't been able to do so far. And it's certainly something that Mark Allen and Karen Wilson have already managed to guarantee themselves, because, you should have a format of 8 frames to be in the first session, 8 frames to be in the second session, and 9 frames, up to 9 frames I should say, in the third and final session if the match is to replicate that Mark Allen against John Higgins, or John Higgins against Mark Williams of an incredible decider last season. For now, it will be down to Ding here to try and negotiate his way through. It seems like he's still finding himself, despite Zhao playing by far the worst safety shots, it does seem like Ding finds himself in the more difficult ones to play. So far, he's been able to recover pretty much from all of them. Let's see if he can try and do it again. For now, it seems like he's just trying to go for a plant into the right corner, but he didn't play that shot well at all. And the only thing that can save him is that he's caught the blue from the left-hand side of it. So unless Zhao Tong can try and cut the red into the right middle, you feel like he probably won't. Well, that's close. That's close, but I feel like he's just about able to get through to this red to me. And yeah, he will be down to just having a look for this red to be taken. He's got the black to be available right over the pocket, but it is anything but comfortable for him to try and take this red away. But as I say, if he can't cut the red into the middle, he probably has to go for it. Yeah, this one goes. If he plays it well, this one goes without issues. It may seem close, but, well, he's actually overplayed that one. And you can see that that one went because he's actually overcut this red. And yeah, he's probably too concentrated on trying to make sure he gives himself a little bit of room to work with. But in the end, he hasn't worked out. And now Ding is going to be the one to be having a frame to lose here. Because now, surely, you know, we've seen that with Zhao get on in frame number 12, where despite you not playing well, there are going to be frames where you just feel like it's impossible for you not to take it away because you're still being a professional snooker player, and you certainly should be able to make the most out of positions like this. Although that's not really the starting point that I was thinking about, because he has underplayed for the pink massively. He's overplayed for the black even more. So, I mean, the pink is still playable into the right middle, but because of the angle on how lower the cue ball is than the pink itself, it's still not an easy shot. You have to make sure you get past the yellow on your way up and down the table. So it seems like he's sort of, you know, making his life a little bit more difficult, but he's managed to recover really well and didn't reach the yellow because of him sort of carrying the red out of his way. Now finds himself 11 points clear on the break of 7 points here, and should be looking nicely for trying to make the most out of those 6 or 7 reds. He's got one more that he pushed onto the right side cushion, and now he will be down to playing for not really the pink, not really the blue. So what was he playing for? Seems like he doesn't understand himself, because it clearly was the shot for you to try and play for the pink. In the end, he's overrun by a mile for the pink. And in the end, he's going to be still lower than the blue, which tells you that he probably was playing for the pink. But that's a horrendous shot there from Ding Junhui. And that all started with the previous shot there. I don't know why he would try and overplay that shot with so much power, because he clearly caught himself in 2 minds there, where he managed to hit that red way too differently than what he was expecting. But now, as he takes the blue away, he catches the green full ball, and he leaves that cue ball with no chance to pot a red. Anything but a long shot. Zhao Tong once again seems like he's going to be sleeping in his seat. But you may as well do that, because he's certainly not going to be fearing anything. He doesn't have anything to fear from what we've seen in the first frame, where Ding now had 3 chances, and he's still looking on 36 points to 15 as he tries to get himself through and on the score sheet. As I say, he can try and go for the red into the corner. As I say, it's only the long shot, which is going to be the option for him. And especially if he's going to be playing a safety shot of one of the only reds that he's got safe. And, well, he's pushed the red over the corner. It seemed like he's going to get away with this one, to have the blue and the reds to be covering that part of the table. So it's not an easy situation for Xington. It's probably still going to be quite an easy one for Junhui, though, because he still finds himself in a position where he can try and go for, you know, all the easy reds without needing the total clearance, because you've got that 17 points of a cushion and it's only 83 at the table. Because it's going to be a different scenario for Zhao Tong here, because, oh, that's a horrible shot there. I mean, for now, you don't really understand all the build-up to this match, because it seems like for every good safety shot there that Zhao Tong plays, he seems to have like 5 or 6 that he plays really badly. At least this one is not a foul shot, but he's still going to have a couple of those reds to be put on the plate there for Ding Junhui. And surely this time he's got the perfect angle to try and drop that cue before the black. And for now, it's going to be not even nerves, I would say, because, as I say, it's not down to anything that we've seen from Ding so far. It's just down to clearly not being, you know, practicing so many hours, maybe, which he has mentioned to John Parrott in his interview when he's done with BBC. And yeah, he will be down to just carefully trying to take the pink into the right middle. But Ding needs to try and make sure, if he's going to be winning this frame with 3 visits to the table, just do it in 5 or 6. It doesn't really matter. As long as you get yourself on the score sheet, you probably eliminate the chances of you losing this match by this first session by 7-1. And then it can only get better for you if you make a real match out of it. You'll have to be down to you playing well, but also trying to keep your opponent to be a little bit quieter than you would like to be. Now 25 points clear, 67 at the table. As Ding is still looking to try and go for the pink into the left middle. Not sure why he's trying to ignore the black. He probably has to be down to the black being on its own cushion, but how close it is to the corner, surely he would have thought that, you know, at some stage it was going to be worth it for him to try and bring the black to be on his spot. He clearly feels like that's not something that his mind should be focused on, as he makes a joint harvest break of that match for himself, of 15 points exactly. Now, having a look on the blue to be taken here. I mean, to be fair, the counterpoint to that is probably going to be the pink is closer to the reds than the black is going to be because of their position closer to the blue right now than they are going to be towards the black ball spot. So that may be a reason behind it. But as I say, at some stage, I genuinely thought that he was going to try and give himself a little bit more of a variety. But now he finds himself 37 points clear. He needs 2 more reds to be taken, which will leave just 43 points remaining at the table. And that will be more than enough to make sure that Zhao is going to be kept in his seat and lose the first frame of this match. I'm actually not sure, and I'm down to double check if he has actually lost a first frame of any match at the Crucible since the beginning of last season, as he plays a bit of a bad shot there, Ding. Not sure if he's going to try and go for the green, brown or blue here. That tells you how badly he's landed on this one. Because the brown is a very tough cut into the middle. The green is a very tough cut into the yellow pocket. Don't ask me how he got there, because I don't know. But the green seems to be perfectly re-spotted onto the spot of the yellow. He must have been cannoned into it, to be fair, because there's plenty of spots available. But he seems like he's going to go for the brown, which, listen, it looks a lot easier than it is in the reality. So could easily miss this one. And is he going to miss this one? No, he won't. He's played that one really well. Got the front jaw, which usually is a bad thing, but with how little pace there was in behind that shot, he was still able to just drift that shot nicely into the corner of that middle pocket, and now finds himself 42 points clear. Will be joined 43 in terms of points ahead and points remaining at the table. And you will just be down to taking the ping. Make sure that Zhao will need 2 snookers, and then try and take the red on the right side cushion to make sure that you leave Zhao in his seat. But now it is going to be the break of 32 points, which looks like is going to be the one that wins Ding Zhuohui the first frame. Now just trying to carefully breach over the green and the brown. Make sure he's not going to be touching both of them, as the referee will be keeping a close eye on. But now it's a really good shot there on the reds. Probably one of the best that we've seen in terms of the queuing and the way that he had to play that one right into the heart of the pocket, especially with how well he's managing to get himself to be on the pink. Trying to take this one into the corner and make sure he tries to develop the red next to the middle. That's a fantastic shot again, as long as he doesn't drift in behind the green, which was a little bit too much to ask. And he is going to be perfectly in behind the green, but of course, at this stage, it's not going to matter for the snooker, as he just tried. Wow, I mean, he hit the red in the ends of the side cushion of the jaw of the middle pocket there, but it doesn't really matter. He was no chance that Zhao was going to be coming back to the table as the 16th seed defeats the world number 4 and the highest rated seed, because of him being the reigning world champion here. It is Ding Zhuohui that takes the first frame by 75 points to 15. Let's have a look how Mark Cullen and Karen Wilson are doing. I'm pretty sure Wilson is the one sat in his seat. No, Wilson is the one playing. So I misjudged the haircut, and once again, he's on a break of 28 points, and he could well try and complete a comeback here, you know, because 5-0 down, to me, you know, he needed that intermission badly. Clearly was struggling with his tip badly because of everything that he said against Stan Moody, saying that he's very surprised to get through the first round, and it is going to be the battle of the equipment in round number 2. Maybe Alan is experiencing something similar, but it is a little bit weird how it sort of clicked for Wilson after 5 frames, not after 4, where you've got the intermission, not after 8 or after 9, where it's the end of the session for you. But at the end point, it's 39 points clear, 83 at the table, and he may well be looking at a 5-all draw there in between the world champion of 24 and the semi-finalist of 2023. Still looking nicely though in terms of the chances for Zhao to try and take this one away, because at this stage I probably would say it is going to be down to Zhao Xington trying to make it past the just that little bit of a pressure thing, where he's going to be looking at, you know what, I need to try and play my best, but for now, I just need to try and start scoring a couple of those points, because in the first frame, we've only seen 15 of those, 14 of one break, and then a lonely red into the corner of the other one. Managed to lay a really difficult snooker in behind the green, but only got 4 points out of it. And in the end, he was down to Ding Zhuhui coming back with a really good opportunity to try and score higher that break, and 39 points proved to be enough for him to be the frame winner. Let me just try and translate what is going to be happening out there. Ding Zhuhui is doomed to lose because he's just like, well, I'm not too sure the translation is going to be accurate there, but I feel like I get the concept. Ding Zhuhui is going to be a similar sort of player to Zhao Xington, so it's not going to be easy for him to try and win that match, which is true, but at the same point, I actually feel like it's going to be a point which could potentially prove to be crucial against Zhao Xington, because he doesn't really come across as a player that has got plenty of those plan B scenarios. So if he doesn't play well across 3 sessions, which, you know, it hasn't happened before at the Crucible, but it could happen now. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. But I feel like it's still going to be very much Zhao Xington's match to lose, but at the same time, it will be down to him trying to hit the form pretty early in the match, and that's exactly the shot that he wants to try and do that with, because Ding clearly was happy to try and concede that red away into the left corner with how difficult the angle was against Zhao Xington. But now it still seems like he's going to have a difficult journey to try and get on the next red. He's going to have a look at the pink, he's going to have a look at the black, and in the end, it seems like he's going to settle for the green. Played that shot with so much power, but also so much accuracy at the end. And it is going to be all down to trying to, well, score as many points as you can, but ultimately, just trying to get down the table. Not too many reds that you have available, but he's still on one. And that's about as much as you can ask for. You can eat. In the other table, I mean, but then goal marker ahead, he sounded special as loud, so both is weird, and less special, then I can't angry crazy. Don't really understand it. Once again, it could be one of those where the translation is not the best, and my understanding could be not the best either. But yeah, on that format very quickly, I've never been a huge fan of it, because I feel like it is uncomfortable for the players to be sat so close to each other. You know, it's nice when you get the likes of Zhao Xington and Ding Zhuhui to be so close, but imagine if it was, and he was at that stage, Ali Carter against Ronnie O'Sullivan. I mean, you're pretty much creating pressure out of nothing, so not a fan of it. I understand why it has to be done, but at the same time, you know, that maybe that's why the Crucible needs to be renovated, so that you get a little bit more space. I'm not sure if that's going to be that down to the space for the tables or purely focused on the audience. And once again, as I say, Zhao Xington's Crucible record, 4 appearances, debut in 2019, matches that he's won or lost, 7 down to 2. So to be fair, it is going to be his 7th appearance. How many matches do you need to win at the Crucible? So he's won 1 in the first round against Highfield, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's had 1 more win before that Triumph campaign, which I generally thought he didn't have anything before he came to the World Championship at 25 as an amateur. So let's have a look what he's going to be now, down to 12 points of the advantage. He's taken all the easy reds, apart from the one at the top-hand side of the table. Let's see if he's going to try and play for that red. He has, but it seems like the blue is going to come at the worst possible place for him. And yep, well, when I said worst possible place, I thought he was going to be snookered in behind the blue. I didn't quite mean that he was going to be a millimetre away from the blue. So just play that into the side cushion and into the main bunch of reds. So 19 points, once again nowhere near as many as we thought and expected Zhao Xington to score. But for now, it will be down to Ding Zhuhui to come back to the table. He needs to play that with a little bit more care, you know, because if you push that red close to the right corner, you would have been down to potentially leaving out a red to be taken into the right-hand side of the table. For now, that won't quite be the case. And yeah, Ding Zhuhui, he's going to just carefully try and make sure that cue ball is played towards the left-hand side. Leave that to be perfectly on the blackboard cushion. And it's an interesting one here, because you can't afford to be sending the cue ball to the top-hand side of the table until that red is still there. And Ding clearly played that on purpose in relation to trying to make sure that yellow is still going to hamper Zhao Xington. so that he can't actually get through to that red. It's a risky shot that Xington has played, and he's playing it just about as well as he could have, but I'm a little bit surprised that he was sending the cue ball into the zone, clearly trying to get close to the blue. But the problem is, if he'd gone past the blue, you could have easily left the red to be taken into the yellow pocket. And we could well be heading to a re-rack for now, because, we've just seen 5 exactly the same shots there to be played. And a problem that I didn't start. Well, it happens, isn't it? Sometimes YouTube has been here for a while, but you do get the problem with social media sometimes. It's going to be close to the yellow. And he doesn't want to be close to the yellow because he could well leave a red towards the green pocket. And that's going to be super close, Has he got the cover on the yellow? Because it seemed like he has. But from another angle, it may show a different story here. As there is a little bit of noise from the other table, which to me suggests that Connor Wilson managed to complete his comeback. And he has. Wow, that is incredible. 5-0 down. It's now down to 5 frames each. But for now, we could be seeing something more interesting here. Because as much as it is a story of the 2024 World Champion, right now, the World Champion of 2025 finds himself in a little bit of a problem. Because he has certainly left that red into the green pocket. It looked like the yellow was close, but he wasn't quite close enough to keep that red away from the dangerous spot. But in the end, as I say, Ding feels like he's misfiring here quite badly when it comes to those break building shots and just trying to get himself through the difficult part of the break. As he was on the wrong side of a blue, couldn't try and make contact with the reds directly, had to try and go around the globe, didn't work out, and now he's going to be looking for a plant, which has ended up to be nowhere near the pocket, and I have got a little bit of a suspicion that he was just playing that with a safety anyway. So now the breaks of 6, 13, 15 and 39 get Ding Zhao to be in a position where he is, which is still a reasonable shout for the second frame. But ultimately, Zhao Xington, they'll be looking for that first safety shot to be at least normal for him. And it seemed like he's managed to find it. It's a really good safety as well in relation to the red that he was playing there. Took that one towards the left side. Managed to leave the cube about as close to the yellow pocket as he possibly could. As long as he hasn't left any attacking options to the right corner, which surely he hasn't. Because, he didn't disturb any of the main pack of those reds. And if he has left them, that means that they were available for him to be taking on, which clearly is going to be a huge misjudgment. So no surprise that Ding is going to be going for another loose red. You've only got 2 of those at the table. Zhao Xington played the first one. Ding is about to respond with the second one. Doesn't want a double kiss though. That was close. But in the end, it seemed like it was all worth it. Because he just pushed one of those dangerous reds to be right next to the yellow pocket. Zhao Xington can't see it. But ultimately, you'll have to try and do something with pretty much every single one of those reds at the bottom part of the table. He can try and play a bit of a risky shot here, which will certainly get us out of a stalemate. And it seemed like he's doing that. Trying to spread those reds away from each other and play that cue ball very close to the black ball cushion. Well, that's a bad shot, that is. That's a bad miss, as Steve Davis would say, because the idea was there, the intention was good, but the execution didn't get anywhere near as close on the cue ball. You barely got past the black ball spot, and now it's a chance to be heading for this red into the middle. I want to believe in Ding, but everything in me says he cannot beat Zhao. Well, listen, that was me before the match, but the good thing about snooker, you never quite know before the match actually gets underway. For now, it's the lesser of 2 evils, but Zhao Xington is playing probably the worst match I've ever seen for now. And then I say that, and Ding Zhao misses a red like that. I mean, that is... It's only the second frame, and that's the good news about it, but the standard certainly has to go up in the level. I mean, in all honesty, if there's no pressure on this one, I know for a fact I can take this red into the middle. And that's not really a good sign on the CV of Ding Zhao, because once again, right now, it is going to be, like, even the previous shot for Ding was probably down to those, down to the situation of the reds where you can't really lose this frame, and you can't really miss on any of those shots there, and he was still not able to get himself a point on the board. Now, Zhao Xington, not only does he have 19 points of the advantage as he puts the blue back on its spot, he also has got a great chance of trying to get himself back with being on the score sheet in terms of those frames, and ultimately being level when it comes to those points there. 25, made that 26 points that he scores. So yeah, he probably will be down to just having one of those situations where you have got a chance to try and go 2 or 3 frames ahead. We've seen that with Zhao Xington against Highfield. We've seen that with Stan Moody against Karen Wilson. Different matches, different results, different styles as well. But it's always nice for you to be doing that, because you basically make it impossible for the other party to catch up to you until the end of the, of the second session, which was the case in the match of Liam Highfield against Zhao Xington, because it was a 9-5 at some stage. Yes, Liam was able to take 2 good frames away, but still 10-7 at the end. It wasn't really like, he had Zhao Xington in the ropes. I feel like if he lost that 17 frame, that would have been the case, because you're down to the last 2 frames, and that's not really something that can be called comfortable. But still, at the same stage, if you look at that scoreline, 9-7 being the closest that you have been for a while, it's probably not going to be something that, you can be too proud of. But, when it comes to being the lowest rated qualifier on the World Tour statistically, not judgment or something, he was the world number 92 up against the world number 4 and the top seed there. So he certainly would have been in a world of trouble. As now, Zhao Xington, this is a lot better for him. And as I said, the previous couple of raids that he's taken were the ones that he couldn't miss. He certainly could mess up this situation, and he still played that shot into the raids of 5 of them to split up them perfectly well. And now he is going to be 38 points clear of Ding Zhuyi, and ultimately still being on the blue, and able to go for the black for the time being because of the brown covering the left-hand side. And he probably feels like he's comfortable around the blue for now, and he will probably just make it down the angle. If he's got the angle to try and play the shot with topspin, which I feel like he's got right now, set himself up with a shot on the brown. Seems like he's trying to go around this shot for the black. Carefully misses it on the way down, and in the end he is going to have a brown to be taken. I thought he was going to try and get around the black there, but he may as well just try and get the brown out of the way, make sure he makes this shot a clearance as simple as possible. And the incredible thing is, even though he's going to be very short in points, it could still result in a century break to be made. Of course, he's got around 2 more shots or so to be made after this raid. Make sure it's going to be down to 51 points of the advantage. To be fair, he's on 49 as the advantage right now, so that will be putting him down to, well, yeah, he still needs 1 more raid to be taken after the black, and then it will be down to 1 frame each. And what a turnaround it has been in just 3 or 4 minutes, because before that raid is taken into the middle there by Ding, and before that raid is missed at the end, you feel like he's got a great chance of, he's only 15 points behind. Surely that's now going to be a 2-0 lead, but at the end point, despite all those early struggles from Xington, he's still going to find himself just turning this one into a race to 12 frames instead of 13, as he now takes the red away. It's not going to be a century break now, confirmed, because he's about to be taking the blue, and there's no way he's going to find the remaining 3 reds to be taken with the black. But still, it's a nice break of 49 points and counting, better than anything that we've seen in the first frame from Ding Zhuyi or Zhao Xington. And it's now going to be the first 50-plus break to go with it as well. Now just having a look to see if the blue is about to be taken here into the left middle. Try and carefully play this shot towards the side cushion. Make sure the cue ball is going to be sticking around the red there. And now he's got 68 points of a lead, so no chance for Ding to be coming back to the table. And you can see average shot time when it started this break was down at 16 seconds. Now, for the current break, it is going to be just 14 seconds, which is incredible. And only Ronnie O'Sullivan so far seems like he's been the match for him, because I clearly can remember he had a point in his match against Chego John where he had 13 seconds as very much his average shot time on the break. So once again, as I say, it's down to just 1 frame for you to try and turn this around, and then you still feel like we haven't really seen anything like it from Ding, because despite that 39 points of a break being decent, he didn't really have anything which makes you feel like, yeah, Ding is going to be back here and he's here to play. Whereas it is going to be a certain couple of shots that we've seen there from Zhao Xington as he tries to bring the yellow into the open play, trying to do a little bit too many shots there. But it's still a nice break of 64 points, which leaves him winning the second frame by 83 to 6 points. And now it is going to be Zhao Xington 1, Ding Zhuyi 1. So the first out of those 12 perfect sequences completed, and then 11 more, and we are going to see a decider and in between those two players. But right now, seems like something cannot stop Karen Wilson. He's about to win 6 on the bounce. He was 5-0 down, remember. He's about to find himself 20 points from making it 6-5 of the advantage. He's on a break of 45 points, 91 at the table, and it seems like he certainly managed to find a bit of a cure there in his tip, because I haven't seen it. As I say, I've been here with you, but you know, when it comes to seeing what I can see, the breaks of 50, the breaks of 71, the breaks of 52, and now the break of 52 points exactly and counting is certainly a lot better than the breaks of 36, 46, 1, 0, 19, 75 in the first session as well. It's starting Zhao versus Ding. Listen, the first frame was probably a bit of a warm-up. It's just Zhao Xingtong didn't realise that, and that you still get awarded a first frame for it. But in the end point, he was able to have a really good break. Just 64 points, which is poor for his standards, but he had some great shots, especially for him to try and start that break midway through the frame. He was able to do the majority of those shots through the blue. The position wasn't straightforward. Now let's see if he can try and build on that to try and sort of cement his advantage ahead of the second session, because I still feel like it's something that he can do. But at the end point, it's going to be down to trying to make sure you keep that game to be heading into the right rhythm. And now it is down to Ding Zhuyi to try and respond with something similar, as Karen seems to be ever closer to be taking that sixth frame on the bounce, making an incredible comeback already. Remember, he's done 7 frames on the bounce against Stan Moody, overturned a 7-3 frame of a difference into 10-7 of a win. That was a little bit different though, because Stan Moody was a debutant, something that you certainly can't say about Mark Cullen, as it's a decent break-off shot there by Ding Zhuyi. When I say decent, he only got one of those reds to be in open play, and even that one is covered up by the blue. Here's Zhao Xingtong, please. He's a respectful shot, but it seems like he doesn't really get too much power on the cue ball. Although the fact that he got underneath the yellow might actually be the thing which hampers Ding Zhuyi, because if the yellow is not there, he clearly can be going for the red into the left corner, the one second closest to that part of the table. For now, it's probably not going to be something that Ding is going to be thinking about. So just trying to go for the red into the left part of the table. I mean, if he gets through the yellow, which, well, I mean, he's trying to bridge over it. I never really see those shots to go in. It might just be me. Well, yeah, he was just trying to get rid of that red, to be fair, which is completely understandable, because, as I say, when you need to hit a very specific part of that red for you to drop it in, especially, you know, there is going to be an element of trying to play for the black as well, which means you have to judge the power well. It was just something, way too many things had to come into the right place there for Ding to execute that shot about as well, as it was required for him. So for now, Zhao just carefully barges the pink to be away from the captivity of those reds, to make sure it's going to be possible in 3 out of 4 main pockets. And Ding is now going to have a look at the plant of reds potentially. I feel like it's going to be more of a thing for a safety, so that if he sort of leaves that lower red to be available for Zhao Xingtong, does he take it into the corner? I feel like the short answer probably will have to be yes, but he will be down to see on what's about to happen here. Remember, by the way, this match should continue tomorrow at, I'm pretty sure it should be at 10 o'clock there. I should have checked before it started, but I'm going to check now, since the safety is, seems like it is taking a little bit of time anyway. So it will now be down to just trying to see on who's going to be the first one to blink of the safety battle, but for now, it seems like it will be down to just, you know, the first opportunity is going to be the one to try and take, as right now, Zhao Xingtong, wow, that's a really good red that he's taken into the corner, and look at where he finished. There is going to be a hand of apology to go up, because he is fortunate to be where he is on the blue. Well, that is still a fantastic red to be taken into the middle, and that's exactly how Ding Zhuyi should have taken a lot easier of a red at the middle point of the previous frame, but now this is going to be a great chance here for Zhao Xingtong to try and get himself on the score sheet for the third frame as well. And listen, it was always going to come at some stage. I thought we may have to wait until the second mini session there, because it's very rarely that you see Zhao Xingtong to be doing what he's doing now. have a bit of a off first or second frame and then come back a lot stronger in frames number 2 and 3. But sometimes that break of 64 can just spark you into life. Make sure that you know what you're doing. Your opponent is clearly not going to be in that state because, he didn't have that break of 64 points. And as I say, 39 that he scored. Yes, he was impressed with the bad shot there from Xington, because as much as he's got a red over the pocket, he still has to bridge very awkwardly over another red, which makes it limited power. Careful not to miscue, and yeah, that was always coming. You had to play that shot really well into the corner, and he caught a little bit of the front jaw because of how little distance there was in between the red and the cue ball, and him having to play that shot with power. He wasn't just dropping the red in, he was trying to play that shot into the corner. Didn't work out, and the same right now, he's going to be available for Ding Zhuwei. This is the problem, of a semi-difficult position, is that he's still not necessarily going to be up to the grips with the position fully, and then there is a chance of you trying to play a shot like that, and if he's going to be on the blue, which he would have been had there not been a red covering the middle, that would have been such a perfect way to start this break. Yes, very fortunate, probably a little bit too fortunate there, because Ding clearly realised that he had so many reds in a bad position. The only red that he had available to him was the one that he was playing and was over the pocket. So he thought to himself, might as well try, send that cube with maximum pace into the bunch and just hope I am going to be on the black. He wasn't on the black, but he still finds himself on the yellow, on the brown. Still, this yellow needs to be cued really nicely in relation to the cue ball, and that was played really well there from Ding. Just needs that cue ball to be running a little bit lower. That will do. It's marginal, but that will do him nicely in relation to, he can try and just find that wide corridor in between one red to be on the side cushion, the other to be quite close to the middle of the table. And then it is going to be, who's the winner? You have to ask on Sunday evening. I'm pretty sure we'll know by that point. We don't know now, otherwise we wouldn't be watching. So yeah, he has to try and cut this one carefully into the middle. Just have that cue ball to bounce massively. I feel like he doesn't even have to be playing for the blue here. It's not even the debate whether he should try and play for the black. That was a suicide of a shot. And yeah, he's played that well. He's played that really well, to be fair, because he gives himself an option of trying to play the green or the brown. I feel like he just about has got the right angle on the green. But also it will depend on how many of those reds can he actually see to be taken into the right corner. A bit of an interesting swing there, by the way. I just realised I haven't really been watching Ding. So it's a bit of a old school manner to be hitting that cue ball through. I'm not going to say a bit like Steve Davis or something, but it certainly doesn't come across as something that Ronnie does, something like Zhao Xington does, Jock Trump. Just seems to actually try and hit through with the swing being nowhere near as big as you would expect to see from the other players, but it may be just the thing that I'm thinking about there. As I say, for now, that shot is working out perfectly well for him because of how many reds that he's managed to get himself to be in open play. He's still on the blue to be taken into the right middle, plays that cue ball carefully to be lined up for the reds, and now he's about to be playing that shot to try and stun the cue ball here for the pink was my original view, but at the same stage, the pink is not really going to have any spot to go for, so you may as well keep it where it is. Although, the problem about it is that if you eliminate the pink out of that spot, it goes underneath the reds, which is probably not going to be too bad of an idea for Ding, because it's going to make it simpler for him to try and get through to the other reds and try and free up the pink spot as well. So it seems like it's something that he's gone for, as it's now 1 frame each and 14 points each as well in frame number 3. Now hitting that red well, and well, I thought he was going to try and go for the red next to the pink spot. In the end, that won't be the case, and he's about to go for a plant into the corner. Once again, this is not one of those which is impossible to miss. There is distance in between those two reds. You need to play that really well, especially, there is elements of trying to play a really good shot for the black or the pink may be possible into the corner, but I feel like it's not really a risk that you have to be taking on. So just a careful brush of those reds into the corner. Make sure that you get yourself lined up with a shot of the pink to be taken as well. But now it is Ding Zhuwei that is looking to try and go for this red into the left corner. If it's going to be a plant, that's the only way that he has to try and keep this break going for himself. But I do think he's not really sure what to do here because he's taking way too much time here on this shot. He's playing for it beforehand. Well, that's a good shot if he's on the pink. It's a really good shot if he's on the pink. He's going to have a look at it. And it seems like he's going to ask the referee to clean the white. To me, he's not really on the pink in it, you know. He's close, but I feel like the red that he's pushed over the corner is going to be in the way. That it's a really nice shot there in the way that he's managed to have a split of those reds perfectly in the shape of a Great Britain flag all over the place there. Well, it seems like he's going to be taking the pink after all that. It's very close though, to be fair, in relation to the other reds. And he's played that really well. I mean, the fact that he's played that so carefully into the middle of the pocket didn't actually seem like it was too close, but should he have gone to the side of one of the other jaw, it would have been a very different story in the making there for Ding. He's about to have a break of 27 points, which he gets himself lined up for. So then if he's going to be playing this cue ball to try and keep it on the pink, he may as well try and reserve that pace of the white to be on the top side of the pink once again. Try and carefully play for one of those reds towards the lower end of the table, which of course will make sure that he gets that black to be freed up. He's got 3 reds to be over the corner, basically. You know, a couple to be further away, a couple closer. And you can see, I feel like tournament pot success for now is going to be down to how well you've played and how well your opposition players played against you as well. Because Ronnie leads that stat by 93.6%. Ding is second, 92.9%. Hossein Wafai is third, 92.4%. Weezer is fourth, 92.2%. And then Robertson is fifth, 91.6%. But the thing about those matches is that pretty much every single one of them have been won by a huge amount of frames. Robertson was 10-6, which is not too comfortable. 10-5 for Ding Zhuyi against Gilbert, and then the rest of them was 10-2 for Weezer and Ronnie, and then it was 10-3 for Hossein Wafai. 25 frames to play the winner. He's not claimed. Yes, absolutely. 25 frames for you to play, and then the winner is going to be the winner of the 13 frames. Of course, is going to be up to 25 frames. You don't have to get yourself to 25 frames on the count. It's just the maximum total of those frames can be up to 25 if the match is to go the distance, which we have seen plenty of instances beforehand, especially last season. Haven't seen that so far in this season already, because there's only been one match to be played in first to 13. So then it's another break of 50 plus, and something that I said about Zhao Dington was certainly a helping hand for him to try and get to grips with the cloth, the equipment, the day 7 or day 8 setup. I'm not really sure if we're going to be on then day 8 right now. Informed Ding can beat anyone. It's true, but you have to tell me the timeline where you have seen Informed Ding, because I certainly remember that, and that Informed Ding was unstoppable, because I remember being a Ronnie fan in 2016, 2015. Ding was a player that you feared pretty much as anyone on the tour. You had the likes of Bingham, you had the likes of Robertson, you had the likes of Selby, but when it comes to Ding, the advantage that he had over every single one of them is that you realised you could leave the TV for 5 minutes and you come back and there could be 2 frames to be won there by Ding Zhuyi because of his blistering pace. He got the name of a dragon for a reason, because he gets himself near a village and all of a sudden that could be burnt in no time at all. But that's a bit of a bad shot to play. I mean, he's played for the pink on the previous time, and now it seemed like he's going to have to try and go for a double to try and continue the break, certainly. But does he go for it? He's 51 points clear, 51 at the table as well. So just try and push that red away from the lower end of the table so you can't play for the black, or you can try and pot it really well with so much power as well to make sure just about under 100% there to make sure that shot was controlled for him. And now making this the highest break of the match as well, taking the black in no time after it as well. So ahead by 59 points, 43 remaining. It does seem like Zhao Dington is going to find himself losing in this match for the second time here already. Something that we haven't seen at all against Liam Highfield, something that we haven't seen against Ronnie O'Sullivan since the first session, and something that we certainly haven't seen against Mark Williams in the final. So it's been a while, but now it is going to be a taste of something special. It could have been a bit of a better attempt there from Ding, trying to get that red to be in open play, clearly wasn't interested in trying to get past that red and playing for it. Right now, it will be a double into the, well, either left mid or the yellow pocket. I'm not sure what that was the intention, but still, it's a really good break there by Ding Zhuyi of 81 points, and now he manages to finish the third frame with 81 plays 14, and it is Ding that takes the third frame and now leads Zhao Xingtong by 2 frames to 1. It's really weird, but really nice to be seeing them next to each other. It's one of those, as I say, when you see Liam Pullen next to Chris Wakelin with how much there was in between the two of them behind the scenes from the positive staff. And by the way, Wilson has certainly taken that frame number 11 with a century break as well of 112 points. But now, Alan is going to be on the break of 21 here, with 22 points as the advantage. So trying to make sure he doesn't allow Wilson to be winning any more frames. 6 on the bounce is already too much. But now it could be finally Mark Cullen to be winning 1 in 7 out there at least. And be able to return at least on level terms there. And of course, that match already is guaranteed to be a lot closer than Sean Murphy against Xiao Gudong, with that one finishing with a session to spare, with 16 out of 16 frames to be used in the first 2 sessions. And in the end, Murphy was able to win by 13 frames to 3. Right now, Zhao Xingtong has to try and win by at least 2 frames to 1 right now to make sure that he's not going to be finding himself a couple of frames down after those 6 frames are finished. Zhao warms up later. Yeah, but the thing is, once again, let's have a look which one of those sessions is going to be the evening one, because it genuinely feels like it will be down to one of those situations where you have got a chance to try and go for a lead earlier on. And of course, the second session will be down to Saturday on 2:30, Zhao Xingtong against Ding Zhuyi, and then Saturday at 7 p.m. Make sure to tune in for Ronnie O'Sullivan against John Higgins, session number 1. And then he'll finish off on Sunday at 10 a.m. So busy schedule for those 2 players. 3 days, 3 sessions. 2 of them to be in the afternoon, 1 of them to be in the morning. Usually you do see Zhao Xingtong to be coming alive in the evening session though. We're not going to see any of those for the duration of this match, and I'm not sure, of course, if it's going to be down to the later part of the match or the evening session itself. But right now, it is going to be a bit of a mistake there from Ding, because he missed that red by a mile, and he doesn't want to be putting that red over the right corner. It seems like the brown is going to be in the way of that shot, because he certainly had the safety in mind. And Zhao Xingtong is not going to be able to get through to that red to even play a safety there, you would have thought. Let alone trying to go for that red to be taken into the corner. So he can try and play a safety off another red, try and push that one closer to the black, but I'm not too sure if he's going to be able to execute that shot about as well as he can. But for now, just gives the turn back to Ding Zhuyi and making sure that he's still going to be putting that cue ball very close to the black ball cushion, and just making sure that he doesn't leave anything available here for Ding in relation to those long shot attempts. You feel like Ding here needs to realise he's thinking about going for one of those reds at the closest to the right corner, trying to send them towards the main pack. But what he needs to make sure is that, yeah, there you go, he pushes both of them away, because of course if you don't cover up the second one and you only push one of them away, the second one is still going to be very much possible into the right corner. You realise that. And now we'll be down to Zhao Xingtong to probably use one of the 2 of those reds to either split the pack a little bit more, or just have that cue ball to be navigating through towards the green pocket again without dropping into it too much. And he's played that one well, as long as he doesn't catch the green on his way up the table. Said as long as he doesn't touch the green, especially if you touch the green full ball, this is now a free opportunity for Ding Zhuyi to go for a long red. Because unless he tries to play for the black, which of course he's not stupid to do, he'll play for the pink or the blue unless he's absolutely certain. But still, I feel like it would be a bit of a negligent shot for you to be taking on. Because if he plays for the pink or the black, he can't leave anything apart from the red that he's taking. Of course, unless he goes into the main pack of reds, but that would suggest that he's going to miss it by a mile, which I do actually have a strong feeling that this one is not going to make the pocket. And well, I wasn't too far away. But look at that. I mean, once again, just like it was in the first frame, he was so far away from the left corner of the table that he nearly fluked that one into the yellow pocket again. This time around, after having a kiss of the yellow with so much power, despite it pretty much being the impossible route for the reds, Nearly dropped in, but nearly means that he stayed over the pocket, which Zhao will certainly take, and that he could have taken that one a lot better. That's a horrible shot for him. Pretty much as bad as he could have got for him, because he's straight on the green, he's nowhere to be seen on the brown, and he needs to be heading into the pack of reds here, so I would expect the safety shot to be played off the yellow or brown, and trying to get that cue ball in behind the green, which, yeah, he's done really well. To be fair, that's a fantastic shot there to recover from the previous misjudgment, and it is now going to be just the 1 point out there. Ding 13, Zhao 11, that's fair. Don't think it'll happen, but that's fair. And I'll be here for it as well, because Ding's away against Sean Murphy. I'll tell you that. I'll take that in an absolute heartbeat, because I feel like this is going to be the quarterfinal for you to actually sort of enjoy. He may not be the biggest name if it is going to be Ding away against Sean Murphy, but at least it'll be really nice to see at least one of them in the semi-finals, is my point. And then potentially could be up against the likes of Ronnie, Higgins, Robertson or Wakeland, as Chris and Robertson are going to have the remake of the first round of the Masters. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen Ronnie to be up against Higgins, which, to be fair, we haven't seen him against plenty of other players. We haven't seen him against Trump, we haven't seen him against Williams, we haven't seen him against Selby, because he wasn't playing. There was, well, too many tournaments out there, and of course, the ones that he was playing, aka International Championship, aka the Riyadh Championship, or the, can't remember what else it was, or the UK Championship, he didn't really get through too far away out there. As once again, it's a great shot there by Ding as he recovers from that difficult snookering behind the green, but Zhao very quickly responds and putting the cue ball onto the ball cushion. Of course, this time around, it's not going to be in behind the green, but it's going to be played into the same way as if it was off the right side. Make sure you have that judgment of the pace to be really well working out in your favour, I mean, and have that cue ball to be stunned as soon as it reaches the reds. He's done that well. And if he's done that really well, then he would not have left the touching ball, which will allow Zhao to try and play in behind the green again. He could try and do it behind the brown here, but the problem with those type of shots is that he has to do it from the left-hand side, so that he covers up the option of trying to get out from the right-hand side of it as well, which is not going to be something that he has managed to succeed at for now. So let's have a look. There are going to be plenty of applause on the other table. So does that mean it is going to be 6 frames each? No. It does mean that Mark Cullen is going to be back to the table. And now with a couple of those points on the board out there, as he scores the first red and the blue combination. So looking to try and certainly make it down to 6 frames each, as we still battle for that 4 frame to really get underway. It's pretty much been a little bit more than an hour since the match got underway. So I'd say with the way that we had a couple of those frames to be, you know, quite a slow burner, I'd say we're going all right on the pace. If we finish this one in 90 minutes, it'll be still very much above the average when it comes to the average frame time. And now, once again, it's a good shot there by Zington, as he seems to have put all of his struggles behind him and forcing that cue ball to be nicely lined up for the top-hand side next to the green pocket. And if he's just going to position himself nicely to try and take the shot into the side cushion, then he would be down to sending that cue ball to go all the way and then playing it for, just to try and send that cue ball away. Seems like he's got something else on his mind. I have to find out what it is. And it seems like he's going to go for the red. Wow, he's miscued there badly. And I hope he hasn't given a free ball for his sake. Is that going to be a free ball? It seems like he's got his head in his hand. So that's way too close for comfort there. Was that a miscue? Yeah, it certainly was. Of course, I was watching with no audio and could realise that one. Is it going to be a free ball now? It's really interesting because the referee still hasn't really made a call. Nah, it can't be a free ball here. I mean, to me, that's nowhere near even close. I don't know what we're looking at. You know, if you're going to be hampered by a couple of other reds, I mean, I don't really understand the conversation here. Clearly, you can see a red football. I mean, it's always nice for you just to check, but to me, that's clear as day. You can't call a free ball for that. If you had to see a very direct red, then yes, but to me, that's... He's got plenty of room to try and hit the red full ball in the face as well out there. Because he doesn't have to see the entirety of the red. And yep, there we go. No free ball. And common sense certainly prevails out there. And he should be put back, you would think, unless Zhao. Well, that is very surprising to me. The free ball in the ends is actually called here, so I'm going to have to watch that one back. Maybe I'm looking at something else, but to me that is... I mean, I was a little bit surprised why it was checked in the first place. And the fact that he was called a free ball and the brown was taken, to me that's weird. You know, it clearly was agreed in between the three of them, so I can't say I'm the one that is right, but I'll have to certainly watch that one back. And maybe it just was the camera angle, but to me that you could see 1.5 reds there. Once again, the rule should be you don't really get hampered by those reds to be seen full in the face. So if you can see the left-hand side of one red, and then it's going to be over the top of another red, then to me, that's not really a free ball, and according to the rules as well. But anyway, the bottom line is, it was called a free ball, and now Zhao is looking to try and make the most out of this one. As he's going to be on the break of 16 points and counting. Of course, still going for a potential maximum here, by the way. Just saying, even though he's going to have so many of those difficult reds. Oh, is he going for a maximum? Yeah, he is. Because despite him taking the first red away, he's not going for a maximum with a free ball, which Ronnie O'Sullivan will say hi to, but he certainly is trying to get a 147 here if he gets the remaining reds all to be played with the black. So it could still be one of those incredible milestones to be achieved, but of course we're still very much far away from that, although this is the shot which potentially can get a lot closer to us, as he's now going to be on 29 points to be scored. And it seemed like he's played that one about as perfectly as he could have. And this is going to be interesting because he's got an easy red to be taken into the middle. But that one, of course, you play for the blue. If you try and get yourself for the maxi to try and stay on it for as long as you can, which he's not going to do anyway. So he's clearly trying to keep himself grounded here, not to run away with it too much. Realising that he's 2-1 behind. And even though he's still going to be a high favourite to be winning the frame, he doesn't want to take any chances here. And just tries to be on the pink, and now it will be down to 36 points here that he scores, and of course down to taking a 1 red before the start of this break. It's now going to be that he's going for a 1-4-6, which will very soon become a 1-4-5, 4-3, and etc. Of course, if it was a bit for 1-5-5, you could still, if you do the maths really well, could try and make sure that you lose exactly 8 points out of those colours, which I'm not sure what the scenario will be in that case, because you can't really call that a maximum, but it'd still be down to a 1-4-7 there for you to try and score. So it's going to be just one of those things which is not going to happen anyway here, as Zhao finds himself on the blue, trying to play this shot carefully off 2 side cushions, off the side cushion, the black ball cushion I should say, and now positions himself really well for the red to be taken into the right hand side of the table. Now 42 points clear, still 107 at the table. Looking to try and go for the red now, carefully well, and give that cue ball a huge bounce to make sure he's going to be quite close to the black to try and take it for another 50-plus break to be on the horizon. And once again, he can just try and really get deep into the cue ball, make sure he plays that one away from the right side and gets himself lined up for the red to be taken with, well, with a variety of the 2 there that he has. He can try and take one into the middle, or he can try and stay on the black with not too much of a safety for him to try and play in relation to the positional play out there as well. And try and keep this break to be as high scoring as possible for him. Before he's going to be transitioning onto a couple of higher reds at the table. Because I feel like for now, something that we have noticed at the Tour Championship, at the Players Championship to an extent, but ultimately at the World Championship especially well, is that Zhao seems to have gone into a stage, whether it is the age that does it to him, or he's just going to be down to realising that he's better off trying to pick out all those reds to be in open play before he's going to be trying to split the reds, which are going to be very much the huge, part of the pack as well. And for now, he's just trying to get on the red next to the pink. He's ignoring the red in the top-hand side of the table. I'm not sure if he's doing that on purpose to try and make sure that if he's going to be on the lower side of a blue, he may as well try and go for that now, as he's ahead by 64 points, still 83 at the table. So just carefully trying to take the red away into the right-hand side of the table. So I'm pretty sure at the Crucible. We haven't really seen too many maximums at the qualifier. I'm pretty sure we've seen one from Zhang Minyu, which despite not making it past the UK Championship qualifiers and also the qualifiers of the World Championship, still managed to get a great bonus of £147,000 based on the 2 maximums that he's made in the 2 Triple Crown events. And despite both of them to be coming into the qualifying, but now it was certainly a very costly mistake there from Ding, and you could see that on his face. As soon as he realised that there was a miscue, he knew there was going to be a risk of leaving a free ball, which, as I said, I'll have to look back on and see whether I'm still going to believe that that was a free ball. But 81 points right now, he's certainly going to suggest that that was the case. 76 scored on the current visit to the table. So far we've seen the players to be bringing out the best of each other, because the first frame seen the break of 39, they responded with a break of 64, responded with a break of 81, and then responded with a break of 83 points and counting here. It's great consistency, and the level of the snooker that we were anticipating to see does seem like it's finally starting to break through here, with 2 great players putting on a great show for the fans. And we're about to see 4 more frames after this one is done. But for now, of course, we want to see a century break here to be made. And he finds himself only 2 shots away from doing that. He's going for a 1-4-2, which of the main draw, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the highest break that we've seen so far in relation to all of those, sort of top seeded against the qualifiers that have made it past the qualifying rounds. And when you talk about the actual, top 32, starting with the last 32 as well. And now it's on a break of 99 points. So just one more shot, as I say, the range for the century break. And it is going to be a century break of 100 points exactly right now, because he's about to be taking the blue, which will lose him 2 more points here. And then depends on which colour he will take with the last of those reds. That will determine on how many points for the total clearance he's going to be heading for. And maybe he was leaving that red all along to realise that that's going to be the best one to try and play that cue ball for the blue. Make sure he's going to have that cue ball right next to the yellow, with it being right sort of alongside the blue ball spot. And then try and go for a straightforward 6-colour clearance and make it, as it stands, a 138 of a clearance. Still by far the best break that we've seen from Zhao, of surpassing the break of 128 points. And if he does that round by round, in the next round we should expect a 148 to be done there, which technically isn't possible. But they said 153 wasn't really possible, and that was the case until the World Open quarterfinal came. But this Brown, he's going to stay out, so it's not quite going to be the highest break of the tournament so far for Zhao. So it was maybe just one of those things where you shouldn't really count the break before it's over. At the end, it doesn't really matter. It's still a century break, and it's still a break of 116 points, which gets Zhao over the finish line and makes sure it is going to be down to 2 frames each from the 2 players from China. And it is Zhao 2, Ding Zhuhui 2, as we're going to be approaching the second mini session as well. It is going to be 6 frames each at the other table as well. So the interval is going to be played at Zhao against Ding Zhuhui. Then, of course, Mark Allen and Karen Wilson are about to start the 4th frame in between the 2 of them. And then just a very quick breakthrough to see how we got to this stage. As you can see, 237. Yeah, I misjudged that one for Zhao because there was a foul shot from Ding, which I forgot to give to him. I'm going to fix that now. There you go. So he's on 237 points. Ding is on 162. When it comes to the ball spotted, we've seen 69 by Zhao, 48 by Ding Zhuhui. Pot success is well in the 90s, which is something that we haven't really seen in the likes of matches of Mark Allen against Karen Wilson. So now it's going to be 93 for Zhao, 91 for Ding here. Long pot success is still very much 100% if you combine the 2, for 67 for Zhao, 33 for Ding Zhuhui. But of course, in total, it is an alright stat for Zhao. It is certainly a dreadful stat for Ding Zhuhui out there. Safety success, by far the weakest stat from Zhao, as he's now going to be on 74%, and 78 for Ding Zhuhui as well. Highest break remains to be 116 for Zhao, and 81 to be made in the previous frame by Ding Zhuhui himself. So ultimately, you probably have to say that the frame of 4 and 3 have been the sign of what we were expecting to be seeing there. Loads of quality, loads of quick frames, but ultimately a little bit of a, just break building to showcase the skills, the cue ball control, the power, and the ability to try and hit through those shots. And of course, the ability to try and split the pack and be lined up for a red and a collar every single time after you do it has certainly been demonstrated to great extent by both Ding and Zhao as well. I feel like the fact that Ding wasn't able to win the two of the first frames is still potentially going to come back and bite him in the first session here. It's probably unlikely to make, a whole load of difference because it wasn't like he was 60 points clear. He had that chance to be taking the red into the middle. He had chances before that to try and go and take a 2-0 lead. That hasn't happened. And now he's going to have to try and settle for 2-all draw. But he still doesn't find himself behind, which is something that has rarely happened against Zhao because, once again, if you talk about the previous matches of the Crucible, it will be down to very much trying to get ahead very early there for Zhao. And then he is going to be down to, well, catch me if you can, really. But nobody certainly was able to do that last year. Let's see if the tendency will change this season as well. Because if you talk about winning the first couple of frames, he's done that against Highfield. When you talk about the match against Mark Williams in the final, if you go backwards, he certainly was able to do that at that stage as well, as he took a 3-0, which turned out to be a 7-1 lead at the end as well, after playing by far better than the 3-time world champion. If you talk about Ronnie O'Sullivan, it was a bit of a different story there because, he took a 2-frame lead before Ronnie eventually managed to get himself ahead by 3 frames to 4. But once again, those 2 opening frames have always been won there by Zhao Xingtong. Zhao 39. Yeah, it's a lot realistic to me because you rarely see those matches because it's 25 frames. You need the players to go literally toe-to-toe for that one to go the distance, which is impressive from what we've seen in the match of Wilson against Allen for now, and which is why it was so impressive for Murphy to win with a session to spare. But ultimately, you feel like it is going to be down to if Ding can keep up with Zhao and so on, because let's be fair, and I'm pretty sure everyone is going to agree on this, there's not going to be a scenario out of 100 chances, more than 3 times there, we will see Ding Zhuhui to be winning this match by 13 frames to 5 or 13 frames to 6, even 13 frames to 7. It's probably going to take Zhao Xingtong to struggle in 1 or 2 sessions, and for now, 13 frames to 9 is certainly not going to be something beyond the sense of belief, but I still feel like Zhao is going to have to try and work for that really hard for it. And, if he gets to that stage, he's still going to be lined up nicely for a potential for him to be, taking a comfortable lead ahead of the first session, because I did say 6-2 at the starting point of it. It's now 2 frames each, so for that to be the case, we need to see Zhao to be winning 4 frames on the bounce, which could still happen, but it's very rarely you see that going on there with Zhao Xingtong, because, as I mentioned, he's very much one of those players which takes an early lead, like he's done against, as we mentioned, against Wakelin and, against Ronnie and Williams. Incredibly, he has lost the first frame away to Chris Wakelin, but then, of course, he's managed to win 6 on the row, and then he got himself into 6-1 of a lead before, losing a couple eventually again, getting himself into 6-4 of a lead, which turned out to be 12-4, and then 1 more frame that he's lost before getting over the line and making it through to the semi-final stage by 13 frames to 5. Different story in the last 16 though, because it was a match against Li Beifan. It was the closest match in the main draw. Zhao still took a nice lead of 2 frames to 0 at that stage, which hasn't really allowed him to be taking too comfortable of a lead before the stage of, him getting over the line pretty comfortably, although, Li Beifan was catching up to him right at the end of that particular match. And now just looking at the qualifiers and looking at the first round, he was up against Jack Jones, but I can't really find, there you go, 10 frames to 4. And he had 2-0 of a gap again. So every single one of his matches, Liam Highfield included, apart from Chris Wakelin, where he was able to win 2 of the opening frames away. And now, of course, he wasn't able to do that against Ding Zhuhui either. So it could be a sign of things to come later on, because we don't really see Zhao Xingtong to have that ability and also that need to come back, because, he always finds himself ahead, which means that it is going to be down to just trying to stay in the lead, because you don't really want to test it in a competitive match if you're going to be able to come back, because if you don't, and then that looks very much ridiculous as you've sort of blown away a high value of a lead out there. But ultimately, right now, it is still 2 frames each, 6 frames each in the match played alternatively next to us, and it is going to be very much a showdown here of the last 4 frames. Remember, the format changes a little bit because it should be down to 8 frames in the first session to be played, then 8 frames to be played in the second session as well, and then it should be the last session to be potentially consisting of up to 9 frames as well. Ding will win. We'll have to make sure, and because, listen, it's a lot of people in the chat saying that Ding will win, but he's still going to be 73 points of the lead for Zhao Xington when it comes to the poll. Let's have a look how many have gone for the draw. 7% for the draw and 20% have gone for Ding Zhuyi to be the winner, which is fair. I mean, it's probably exactly the distribution that I would have gone for, because it seemed like it will be down to very much the first and the second session. You feel like the third session is going to be very much the result of the previous two, because if we find ourselves with Ding winning so many of those frames at the starting point of it, then it will be down to just not having the great ability to be, oh my god, I'm going to be the best thing ever. It doesn't really work like that when you're up against Zhao Xington, because you have to try and take your chances, which something that Ding already hasn't done perfectly well. Yeah, hype him up. Don't you agree? No, I don't agree, because I was the one in the World Championship of last season saying that Zhao Xington is overrated and then he's going to absolutely get, humiliated by Ronnie or Williams or whoever else. And when he comes to those matches, he's absolutely annihilated Ronnie by 17 frames to 7. And then he's done the same thing against Mark Williams. He was 1 frame away from glory. The scoreline was the same. Yes, he took Williams 5 frames to win, but at the end point, get found out this year. Well, yeah, listen, but who's going to do that? Is it going to be Murphy? Murphy's certainly going to have to try and turn up to the best part of his game. And if it's going to be down to Ding Zhuyi, then I say you've got pretty much no chance, because you'll have to outlast him. Not outplay him, not outscore him, but outlast him in those 3 sessions. And that's something that very rarely happens in a match of Zhao Xington. Just ask Trump in the final of the Tour Championship. Just ask Higgins at the Players and at the Tour Championship. And you can ask Ronnie O'Sullivan, Mark Williams, based on what we've seen in the World Championship last year as well. If Ding can win the next 5, yeah, but if Ding can win the next 11, then he'll win the match. Breaking news. The problem is he won't win the next 5. And you know why he won't win the next 5? Because in those 5 frames, there will be numerous opportunities for Ding Zhuyi to try and win those frames. But so will be the case for Zhao Xington as well. And ultimately, it's not really the way it works, because the reason why this match gets so much hype is that you've got absolutely no clue in what's going to happen. But something that you have to realize and you have to predict is that based on what we've seen this and last season, and based off the fact that Zhao Xington has gone from being an amateur to the world number 4, and Ding Zhuyi has been slowly but steadily dropping down the rankings, he still finds himself right now in a position of, he was in the top 10 because of that UK Championship final that he made against Ronnie in 2023 UK. Of course, those points are not going to be relevant now, as he made it through to the quarterfinal. He lost to Watchalong, and right now he will be down to try and recover to make it past the Zhao Xington into the 3rd round, which will be an improvement on 2 years ago, because Zhao Xington is not really going to lose any of those ranking points because he wasn't in the quarterfinal 2 seasons again. But at the end stage, it does seem like it is all-score draw, by the way, because Zhao Xington against Ding Zhuyi is 2 frames each. Barry Hawkins against Mark Williams is 4 frames each. And then Karen Wilson against Mark Cullen is going to be 6 frames each as well. So right now, it will be down to just having a look to see on what it will be the next 2-3 frames showdown, because unless we're going to see another trade where you win 1, I win 1 of Zhao Xington against Ding Zhuyi, then it probably will come down to a bit of a, one of those frames which you can try and kick into form. And then at that stage, it's going to be very much one of those frames for you to try and lose. For now, 1.5 hours in, we're still waiting 5 more minutes. And then the players should make their way back to the table here. Which, I mean, once again, who's going to be the favourite for the 5th frame? I would say Zhao Xington, obviously, for the higher rated position for him, but also the factor that he wasn't ahead in any of those 4 frames. So clearly he will try and do that now, because it's a score draw, so one of the players will have to take the lead. And because he hasn't done that on the 2 of the previous occasions, you genuinely feel like you may as well do that now. And then you will be down to Ding Zhuyi to try and respond once again, because listen, Nobody said that Ding Junhui can't win the match. Just because the odds don't say that he's a favourite doesn't really mean anything. Because in hindsight, when you are the underdog, as Ronnie said, he's going to be the underdog against Higgins, and I probably agree with that. You know, Higgins is the world number 5, O'Sullivan is the world number 12. Yes, the last meeting between the two of them was in the semi-final of the World Championship, and technically, of course, Ronnie is more successful than Higgins, but one thing you have to certainly say about John is that he has been a lot more consistent. He has got the ability to be winning the matches when he's not playing well. O'Sullivan is dreadful at that. And yeah, I genuinely do hope Ronnie does what he says and he will be able to give John a good game, turn up to the scene, play some good snooker, and hopefully for me, book himself through to the 3rd round to be playing up against Chris Swaglin or Neil Robertson. They're also playing tonight or tomorrow. No, they will be playing tomorrow at 2:30. Because it's a 2:30 start, I assume if they would have been playing at 10 o'clock in the morning, which was the case for, can't actually remember who it was the case for. It was Murphy and Zhao Godon. Yeah, it was Hawkins against Williams. So I would assume Barry and Williams will finish on today. And then, yeah, so the second session, it will be down to 2:30 on Saturday. And then it should be early morning on Sunday as well. When I say early morning, it's going to be 10 o'clock in the morning as well. So at that point, we'll have John Higgins against Ronnie O'Sullivan to be brought into play as well. Unfortunately, Weezer and Mark Selby will have to be missing out on because every single time Weezer and Mark Selby play, it is going to be at the same time basically as Ronnie O'Sullivan and John Higgins. And whatever you do, you have to make sure you don't miss out on that potential aim for the world title number 8. He's got 8 Masters, he's got 8 UK Championships, and remember, that story of Stephen Hendry was perfect until that final with Peter Ebdon, the final that he still looks back on and says, I don't know how on earth I can be playing so well against Ronnie in the semi-finals, absolutely destroy him in terms of the scoreline and the way that he was controlling that match from start to finish, and still lose to Peter Ebdon in 4 sessions of a match. There was pressure on it. There wasn't a lot of pressure in terms of trying to make a record extending 8 at that stage because, you know, it was down to the aim of trying to beat Steve Davis's record of 6 world titles, which he has done in 1999, I'm pretty sure, because he was 97 was Doherty, 98 was Higgins, 99 was Hendry, and then 2000 was Williams, and 2000 was Williams, 2001 was Ronnie. Then 2002 was Ebdon, and then it was the era of the class of 92, which had, a couple of other players as well, like Sean Murphy, Graham Dott, Neil Robertson, all to be winning a couple of those world titles, which so far, neither of them have managed to win a world title ever since, which is going to be relevant for the likes of Wilson, for the likes of Chom, for the likes of Robertson, Murphy. Who else have we got on the tour right now that he's only got 1 world title? Zington, of course, himself. As surprisingly to me, by the way, Mark Cullen and Karen Wilson's mission has actually finished before us, which means that despite the pace of the first 8 frames being really slow yesterday, certainly managed to improve on that one if they managed to beat Ding Junhui and Zhao Zington to the performance of the first 4 frames to be played in this respective afternoon session here. Yeah, really going to be interesting to see the finale of the session in between Mark Cullen and Karen Wilson, because for now, if he certainly keeps like that, I would love to see Karen in the quarter-final stage. I've got no clue who he's going to be up against, which I'm going to have a look right now. But is he going to be against Selby or Weezer? Because that's going to be a cracking quarter-final, that is. Let's have a look. Got the draw open for last season because... Now, I feel like Selby against Weezy is going to be down to... Yeah, it's going to be Hawkins against Williams, which is not quite as good as I thought the Selby against Wilson showdown could be, because I'm pretty sure we still haven't seen a great match in between Karen Wilson and Mark Selby, because that still would have been... Alan is leading for now, and comfortably. I'm pretty sure he's not, because he just came back right now. And can't be leading right now because it's 6... Well, he got 6 points of a lead, but I'm pretty sure that's a foul. He was leading comfortably with a scoreline of 5 frames to 0, but a little bit late for that because he lost 6 frames on the bounce and he needed to be the one winning the 12 frame to avoid being behind after 12 frames. So he was 5-0 up, he was 6-5 down, and he was able to win that 12th frame to now be all square at 6 frames each. Listen, it won't be the first time where Wilson has done that, because he's done that against Stan Moody, but at the same point, It is now Mark Allen that leads by 6 points to nil, although I'm pretty sure that's not quite what you meant. So make sure to tell me if you were thinking about beforehand. Can I make you a comeback again? Yes, certainly. But now, another two that are going to be making a comeback here. Of course, a physical one back onto the arena. Ding Zhao against Zhao is about to get underway once more. And let's get ready to see some more exciting snooker from these two players. Because remember, now we're down to the round 2. This is only going to be 8 frames to be seen in the first session, unless, of course, we're going to be out of time and you have to go back to just 7 frames to be seen. Bad shot there from Zhao. He didn't need to make a contact with those reds, and by doing that, through another red, of course, not with the cue ball, he's left the red available into the right middle. So once again, it's going to be a chance now for Ding. He's had a couple of those reds into the middle, which a couple of them that he was able to take, a couple of them that we have seen missed already. Highest break 81 plays 116. I would be a lot more focused on the pot success for now, because there's a real chance to try and take it away in frame number 5, because the position looks perfect for the starting point. He looks good. He looks really good there. A little bit too much of the back end draw, which is going to impact him on the position of the colours. Is he going to be on the yellow? It seems like he's a little bit too close to it, but if he gets through to the brown, he should be lined up really nicely for the first chance to be his for the taking. What's the score between Mark Allen and Kyren Wilson? It is going to be 6 frames each, 6 points to nil in the 13th frame in favour of Mark Allen, and now 5 points of a lead over to Ding Zhao as he plays a really good shot on the brown. 2 side cushions to be taken, and he's perfectly on the reds next to the black ball spot. This is going to be a really good chance now to try and take this red away. Make sure that cue ball is going to be played around those reds and get himself through to the blue. To be taken very carefully. And yeah, if Kyren does make a comeback, he certainly is going to be, well, a lot more credibility to it than doing that against the debutant of Stan Moody. It was still a great performance there from, Kyren Wilson, but I feel like 7-3 is probably going to be a match for being 5-0 down, especially in the first to 13. If anything, 7-3 is probably more difficult for you to come back because, Allen still needs to win 8 frames and Moody only had to win 3 at that stage. But the fact that he hasn't lost any since that point certainly was a great thing for Kyren Wilson and his records, of course, getting his first win at the Crucible ever since that campaign that he's won in 2024. But that is an absolute shocker there from Ding, and he knows that better than anyone in the arena, because all he had to do was to miss that red and not touch it, and he somehow, not only did he touch it, but he also got in behind of it with so many reds available, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 easily, which he could have taken on right now. That red is probably going to prevent him from seeing any of the other 4. And then, of course, one of those 4 pockets which you can't actually pot that red into is going to be the right corner, which is the only pocket that red is looking for. So just a safety to be played, and disappointment there earlier on for Ding Zhao. Doesn't want this disappointment to be any more, though, because it seemed like he's left himself with a bit of a nervy journey back to his seat, because he doesn't really know if he'll come back for it, because the red that he's sort of pushed towards the black ball cushion, he didn't get too close to the cushion there. The cue ball is nicely positioned in relation to, the ball cushion itself, but he has left the red to be taken here into the right corner. Zhao ignores that one for now, so just clearly trying to get his safety count up and underway. And he seems to have done that well, especially if he got the cover on the red that he's looking to the right corner. And it seems like he's close, but I feel like the yellow is just about going to be covering that red. And of course the situation with the black, which it is, and of course the situation on the black as well, is going to be a problem for him if he does somehow get this red through, which he won't. So just the red closest to the right side cushion, carefully to play a cross double from. I'll say carefully, he's got loads of pace injected on that, and he's going to go beyond the D, and he's going to go back in the D as well. That's a bad shot that from Ding Zhao, because he's left his reds very much available and in great visibility there for Zhao. And once again, the problem that I said about the black is going to be relevant, but you feel like with Zhao, I genuinely wouldn't be too worried about this one, because he's got Q power on him, and to me, the angle is just about going to be enough to try and get past the black, and then if he touches the black, it should still be a minor contact, which he plays his shot with loads of power, which he always does. He should still get him through. to the position for the next color. But look at that, 2 reds for the price of 1. That is a fantastic shot there from Zhao because of how well he's managed to cue that red into the corner. And at the same time, he got the bonus red to be taken into the other part of the table. Right now, he will be down to just taking this black away into the right corner, who just doesn't want to make sure. I mean, he wanted to make sure he avoided the jaw of the pocket. I'm sure that one faded, to be fair. But the reason doesn't really matter. Let's have another look. Yeah, to me, that's faded badly. That was, if anything, that was heading towards the back and jaw there of the pocket. But once again, it's one of those things where you have to play those type of shots with a little bit more pace so that you're going to be sort of ready for that fade to be there for you. And I'm pretty sure the commentators are going to have plenty of words to say about that one, because it's the 3rd time they've shown the replay and it doesn't look better on any one of those. It was a great chance for Zhao to be taking that frame away, but at the end, now the chance is going to go from Zhao over to Ding Zhuwei. And it's the Dragon that he's going to be looking for those reds to be taken into the left middle. Try and keep that black over the right corner for now, because he still has got a great ability of playing for the blue and the pink. But ultimately, I feel like the reason he's doing that is that if he gets the black to be respotted, it will be very difficult to try and make it sort of with great accessibility in relation to the right-hand side of the table. He's got the left to be pretty much open for it, especially for the black to go. But when it comes to that right-hand side to be covered up, even if you play the cubo into that area, you still have got a couple of those reds which you need to avoid. So it feels like for me, he needed to be a little bit further up than this on the pink, because he's certainly going to be trying to get in behind of those reds and try and play, you know, a couple of those into the corner. He may try and take this black away now, because as I say, he may just be down to not having the ability to play for those reds, unless he's got a significant angle on the pink, which we've seen that he doesn't. And then, of course, if he wants to try and drop the cube before the red into the middle, it's not really an easy shot for you to perform, but also you're going to have to sort of hamper yourself anyway, and having to play over the pink and the reds to be taken into the left-hand side of the pocket. So for now, just, I mean, that's a risky shot that he's taken, and I'm not sure he's going to get the payback that he wants. I mean, he's right in the middle there. If he can get through to the red closer to the corner, he's absolutely fine, but I feel like he may just about be able to do that, you know. And if that is the case, he's played a marginal shot, but he's played that well. But to me, he's not even looking at that red, which to me means that he's going to have to try and take the red. But it's such a difficult cut into the corner, even without the concern of the color. But the black to be covered up by the right corner, he needs to try and get the cue ball away from the captivity of those reds. Ideally, he wants to try and play for the blue, because the pink is still going to be hampered by those reds as well. This is going to have to be with loads of power. And, I mean, he's managed to get those reds away from the pink, which is a good shot there because he's on the pink. He's slightly wrong side of the pink here, but at least he gives himself a chance and a lifeline to hold on to. The cue ball was way too close to the left corner, but it was always going to be a risk for you to try and hold the white for the pink. But it seems like this one has actually paid off really nicely for you. So the pink to be taken into the right middle, and it's going to be the shot which will get him back into prime position again, as long as he doesn't get that cue ball too close to the blue to be hampered by the color again, because now the pink is going to be free of any sort of problem reds to be taken, especially into the right corner, left and right middle as well. He's got one more red which potentially could prevent the pink to be heading into the left middle, into the left corner I should say. But apart from that, 3 of the 4 main pockets should still be available there for Ding Zhuwei. It's very, you know, a lot of seconds there that he's been taking on so far on this break. 22 points that he scores, 28 with the pink, which seemed like he was about to play there, and then he had a little twitch and he decided against it. So 39 right now, plays 2, so 37 points of the advantage, and clearly seems like he's trying to get himself through to the zone, which he wasn't really showing against Gilbert, but he seemed like he was just having a look for a second, then bang, hit a shot, bang, onto the next shot. Right now, it seems like he's actually trying to put himself in a position where this is a lot of high stakes of a match. Of course, it's a match that, you know, the Chinese Snooker Academy have been absolutely dreaming about for the last 20 years. The world champion up against Ding Zhuwei from the same country. Couldn't write it better than this. But ultimately, of course, he's got great reputation on his hands. And, you know, from the competitive point of view, Yes, I've seen the story that he's been the first one to send a very warm message to Zhao Xington when he was the winner of the Crucible campaign, but I'm still pretty sure there is going to be a competitive element where I'm better than you, and I want to prove this right now, because I'm pretty sure I haven't really looked at the head-to-head of this season, but I am very sure that we haven't seen the match of between two of those great players early this season. Let's have a look at their head-to-head, because there's certainly been a matches beforehand. Yeah, we've seen that at Shanghai Masters, yeah, of course, very late in July, but that was invitational, and also that was, I'm pretty sure, in the quarterfinals. I was about to say in the first round, but yeah, that was the match before Zhao Xington has lost away to Karen Wilson. So this is going to be a bit of a different stage here, of course, as Ding sets himself up for a frame ball. 58 points clear, 59 at the table. So he's about to swap that for 59 points being the lead, and 51 to be at the table. Once again, the 4 frames, I should say, where we've seen a break of 50 plus points to be made, 2 by Ding Zhuhui and 2 by Zhao Xington as well. We've seen a century in frame before, and so far it has been certainly on the rise there. Where you make a highest break of the match, then in the next frame I respond to it. 39 in frame number 1, 64 in frame number 2, 81 in frame number 3, 116 in frame number 4, and now it's got to be higher than 116, which I'm not sure is possible, because he's got a break of 56 points, 51 at the table, so it's not going to be possible, but certainly can try and make a century out of it, which, remember the 2 reds that I mentioned that are going to be covering the black to the right corner. He's still got both of them to be very much in their position, and these are the 2 last reds that he's got available ahead of him, and finally he barges one of them to be out of the way. It could be a sign of him realizing that he's got better reds to play, or it could be a sign of him not necessarily being comfortable with those shots and just trying to make sure he tries to play all the easy first, and then, you know, at the point where he needs to be taking those reds, that's going to be the point for him to actually commit to, you know, taking some sort of a risk with it. And now it's another break of 70 plus. And Zhao Xington is not going to be sleeping now, because it's the standard of play which we haven't seen from Ding Zhuhui in pretty much the entirety of the season. Very nervy start to the first frame, a little bit nervy start to the second, third frames as well, but a lot better in the endpoints of frames number 1 and 3, and especially in frame number 5 right now, as he's still under running for the yellow here. So that's not going to be perfect for him to try and make a century break out of it, but we've seen that with Karen Wilson, where he had a similar lineup on the yellow. Sorry, not Karen Wilson, Neil Robertson. The yellow, the cue ball is going to be close to the middle, but at the end point, he just about catches the side cushion, and he still, despite being so close to be dropping that cue ball for the left middle, is going to be slightly sort of in an awkward position on the green, and he's going to miss the green at the end. So unfortunately, it won't be even the highest break of the match for Ding Zhuhui, but it's still very much a 1 visit to the table, a win of the frame, where he manages to get himself through. 91 points place 2. Zhao Xington had a good chance to be taking the black into the corner. He missed that one. May well be due to the fate of the table, but listen, if I think that that wasn't a free ball in the previous frame, it certainly should not have been a fade in this one either. Ultimately, it's going to only be 1 frame advantage there for Ding Zhuhui, as he gets himself up ahead for the 3rd time in the match, and now leads Zhao Xington by 3 frames to 2. Let's have a look how Wilson and Allen are doing, and they are doing pretty much similarly to what we've seen in the previous couple of frames. A little bit of a slow start, 83 points available, 38 points is the lead there for Mark Cullen, but Karen Wilson is the one at the table. Let's have a look how the position is looking out there as well. I mean, it is going to be a battle for the red, because you're not really going to have an easy chance here to come either to Wilson or Allen, but ultimately at some stage it certainly should be an opener for at least one of them, because you've got still plenty of those points for Wilson to try and close the gap down. But of course, Allen, the longer the safety battle goes on, the more of a chance he's going to have to try and put a couple more of those reds safe, which will put Karen Wilson under slightly more of a pressure in relation to trying to win this frame without too much of a struggle. And right now, it will be Zhao Xington to get through to the 6th frame. As you can see, total points, 14 points out there, the difference, but ultimately it is 1 frame advantage for Ding Zhuhui, as he gets a decent break off in relation to the reds and the colours, keeps the pink and the black both to be available. And yeah, right now, he hasn't really left anything away to Ding Zhuyi either. So, seems like it's a perfect break-off. In relation, he's still got the cover on the green. The reds that he's left for Ding Zhuyi seem like it's going to be impossible to try and take them in the attacking fashion. Not sure about the safety shot to be played. Seems like he has shown the red on the left-hand side though, which he's just about able to get past the green to try and make contact with. And Ding plays a really nice safety, trying to plant that cue ball pretty much alongside the spine of the black, pink, blue and brown. Still left the red to be taken into the right side cushion there with one of those shots where you put a little bit of spin and loads of backspin there. A little bit of side spin, I mean, and loads of backspin on the cue ball. Make sure you avoid the contact with the green or brown, which is something that Zhao wasn't able to do. And this could be the point there. He hasn't played the cue ball perfectly well for it to be in behind the black, which was something that Ding's managed to do previously. And he also didn't manage to avoid the contact on the green from the red that he was sending towards the right hand side of the table. So let's see what Ding is going to try and do here. He's going to try and improve on the previous shot there from Zhao, and the cue ball for him is going to be a lot further from the reds and also a lot firmer in relation to the black ball cushion as well. So it's a nice shot there from Ding, and it seems like for now he's just finding the edge on Zhao pretty consistently here, and you just feel like if he was making a little bit fewer of those mistakes in the first 3 frames, in the first 4 frames I should say, he certainly could have had a lead of at least 4 frames to 1, and not even mentioning a potential of being 5-0 clear, which we've seen before. Just ask Sean Murphy, just ask Mark Selby, and also just ask Mark Cullen as well. But neither of those, well, Jack Jones against Mark Selby to be fair, and Ronnie O'Sullivan, have all been finishing very comfortably there for both of the top seeded players. But ultimately, in a match of Mark Cullen and Karen Wilson, it does seem like it's still anyone's game for the taking. As Ding there just forces Zhao to try and roll up to the reds, and now responds with playing the cue ball away from those again. So it's a battle that Zhao can't win, but it's certainly a battle that he can try and hang on to for a while. But he seems like he's not really interested in doing that, and he's looking for a potential escape route towards the top end side of the table, which for now, you probably have to say absolutely scream no to, because of 3 reds being available at that stage. And Wilson right now, by the way, he's on a break of 9 points and counting, so that 39 points of a lead may evaporate very quickly in favour of Mark Cullen, and it could still be very much Kyron to be taking the lead for the second time in that match. And for that to happen in the last 3 frames, it's going to be very impressive for him, especially from being 5-0 down. As I say, we've been in this situation beforehand where you thought at some stage there is going to be a re-rack. There wasn't at that stage because of both Zhao and Ding Zhuyi at the end point being probably equally as invested trying to make sure that it won't be a re-rack, and they'll be able to make a thing out of this position. What's the exact score between Mark and Wilson? So 10 plays 39 the last time I checked, and 6 frames each. This is going to be a close to a fluke into the green pocket. Zhao got the cover on it, but the red that he was playing for eventually is still going to come a little bit too close to Ding Zhuyi and the cue ball. So now he's got a couple of those to be available to try and go for the reds into the right middle or the left middle. I feel like he's got a better chance of playing the shot into the left middle purely from the potting point of view. But of course, taking the shot into the middle is a lot more safer thing to do. So let's see if you take this one in. It's a difficult shot for you to be taken, especially with how straight it is. It was very close, especially when you know where you played that shot with a little bit of power and you still have that red to be catching both far end and the front end part of the jaw. But the bottom line is the red stays out, and Zhao may have the red next to the green spot to try and take into the green pocket. We've seen those ones to be missed by Neil Robertson against Pang Jung-soo, but this one is not going to be missed by Zhao as he carefully brings the cue ball towards the black, and it's about to be a perfect start there for the Cyclone. He just needs to make sure he keeps this break to be heading a little bit further than just 2 points where he had in the previous frame. Meanwhile, Karen brought that one down to just 6 points behind there against Mark Cullen, and now looking to try and be the one that wins the frame from very much this visit to the table. And yeah, if you're going to try and go for the reds to be taken into the left middle here. You can try and get that cue ball to be in behind the pink and carefully place the white in relation to those reds. I mean, you could clearly see the intention there of Zhao Xingtong being very keen on, I don't know why the scoreline is not working again, very keen on trying to make sure that he doesn't compromise too many of those reds, but he's still sort of done that, even though it was a minor effect of a touch. Now it's going to be 15 points of the advantage. The pink is clearly going to go onto the green spot. And then, you know, there is going to be a great potential there for Zhao Xingtong to try and take the next shot from the blue all into the reds. I feel like especially with how close one of those reds is going to be towards the green pocket. It's now, the shirt is going to be slightly getting in the way there of Zhao Xingtong. Just needs to try and get this red perfectly well into the pocket. And, well, whatever he was, he clearly feels like he's going to try and stick with that approach of taking the loose reds for now. But surely he would have had to try and get himself through on the top side of the blue and use that red next to the green pocket as an insurance for him in case he runs himself out of position on the lower reds. He's always going to have that sort of backup option, which to me is going to be really easy for him to pot unless the cue ball is going to be very awkwardly placed for him. So for now, 21 points here as the advantage for Zhao Xingtong. He's going to try and play around the bold colours with the pink to be probably the colour to go for, though he's overplayed for it by quite a bit of a margin. The brown and green should be getting in the way of each other. That leaves you with just the yellow to be taking. But once again, you don't really have the angle on the yellow to try and jump and sort of dump that cue ball for the reds next to the green pocket. So he forces him to be playing for a shot into the right part of the table. So once again, it seems like he's not quite comfortable with his cue placement with cue ball placement, because it seems like he's sort of going in between the parts of the table, which is not an ideal thing for you to be doing, because you want to have those three reds to be taken at the top end. You take them out, and you don't leave the bottom edge of the table very much until the end of the frame. From that point onwards, doesn't seem like it's worked out for him for now. This is just about on the lower side of the blue. So clearly committed to try and take 35 points or something from all the loose reds that he's got available, and then put it down to his great positional awareness on the blue for one more shot and try and separate their, what is it now, 9 reds away from each other. So he should have the percentage to be working in his favour, because you don't really have any sort of plans that you can see from to the naked eye there that you can try and pot alongside the blue. But for now, just trying to carefully play that shot with loads of power in the Q spin, and he's not going to be lined up. Well, this is the surprise to me. He clearly was playing for the blue, but how on earth can you leave yourself with so far to try and take the cue ball from basically the green pocket, the edge of the green pocket, all the way to be lined up top side of the blue? He's going to try and do it on the yellow. Wow, that's a really good effort, That's a really good effort from what he had. And he may still have a chance to be taking the red into the middle, which is a lot better than what I thought you were going to achieve, because that's a monumental effort there to try and get so much perfect spin there without touching the cushion from the yellow. Trying to separate those 3 reds away. Put the black safe, which probably is going to be playing into his advantage more than anything else. He's about to try and handle black to be joined by another red and place it nicely in relation to getting through a gap of the pink and the brown and getting the cue ball to be behind the green. So 4 colours are going to be all concentrated at the top end of the table, and now it's a break of 33 points, which ends the sequence of you make a break of 40 or make the break of 50 and so on and so forth, which to be fair was probably ended with a break of 80 points by Ding Zhuyi. So let's have a look if Wilson was able to complete that 13 frame comeback, and he wasn't. Don't know what happened, but you know, he got to 38 points, which left him with 1 point behind, and then Mark Cullen got the break of 29 points, with the pink being the last colour that he potted. So he still finds himself 6-7 ahead. And it's a bit of a bad shot there from Ding Zhuyi, because it's going to be a foul, which gives 4 points away to Zhao Xingtong again, not for the first time in the match. And that was literally about as close as you can get. I mean, forget about a millimetre. That was a lot closer than that to the naked eye once again. It's going to be really difficult for the referee to respot, because I feel like it's not really going to be down to... I feel like you can see a little bit too much here. Well, Ding is not going to complain here. To be fair, still needs to try and hit this one pretty well. I don't feel like he's going to be a 3 miss roll that applies to this one, and especially since he hit that one so thick. As I said, I don't feel like the respawn was perfect because he couldn't see that much of that red to be taken, and now as he pushes that one towards the left corner, the cue ball is not going to get past the blue without touching it, which leaves Zhao with still a great chance to try and make it back to 3 frames each here. And he has already, of course, Ding managed to surpass my personal expectations, which I'm very happy about, to try and make a competitive match out of this one. That was ambitious from Zhao. The crowd are applauding that. I'm not sure, you know, that he's still on the block. It does remind you of that long raid that Ronnie was taking against Shigo John in the first round match, but this is a lot more difficult than the shot that Ronnie had to play. And if anything, this time around, there was a tiny bit of fade, which has worked out in favour of Zhao. And nice little revenge for the previous frame, which seems to have cost him the frame, because after that miss on the block, there was a break of 80 points, which followed from Ding's point of view. And now it is going to be a break of 9 points and counting here, as Zhao is forced to try and take the cue ball down to the pink. Well, he wants to be... I don't know if he wants to be straight here, because if he wants to be straight, he's going to have to try and take that cue ball the long way around off the left side, but that's going to be a difficult shot for you to play. The problem is, taking the brown and having so much of the angle doesn't really fix the thing for you. So he's trying to leave that cue ball down and lower than the block here. He doesn't need too much of a bounce. He's asking the cue ball to slow down using a Neil Robertson technique. I'm pretty sure he hasn't worked out for him. It's only one of those players that can do it. And for now, it is Neil Robertson that does that. He's still the most successful player from overseas. That probably will change if Xington breaks the Crucible curse and becomes a 2-time world champion. But ultimately, he's going to have to try and do that in the next frame. Because right now, certainly another visit to the table, I mean, in relation to getting over the line here. Because 52 points of a gap is going to be healthy lead, but it's still not going to be the one that takes him into a comfortable position. And, you know, leaves no chance for Ding to try and come back here. He's got 7 reds. 4 of them are going to be forming a perfect rectangle there next to the pink spot. They're about to be forming a perfect plant into the corner, though, because that seems like something that Ding has left for Zhao. Of course, he's managed to cover up those reds. Of course, it wasn't intentional because he had no idea that 2 reds that he was going to leave next to the pink spot are going to be forming a plant, which certainly is good enough for a safety. Whether it's good enough for an attacking shot, we'll have to wait and see. So that's exactly what something that Xington is having a look at. Because even though he can't see it, he needs to be very much aware of the fact, if he can't see it himself, but the plant is there, the next shot that he plays, he needs to make sure that Ding Junhui doesn't see that one either. Or he's trying to take that one all in with the reds. It actually seemed like that was boundary on Reckless, but I would actually say that it's a fantastic shot that he's played, even though he's missed the red. Look at where the cue ball's finished and how close it is going to be to the green pocket. You could make a point that there wasn't going to be loads of value behind that shot in relation to, you know, it was never going to be on the colour, but at this stage of a frame, it doesn't really need to be on the colour. If he takes 3 more reds away, that leaves him with 55 points of a gap and 51 to be at the table. So it's certainly going to be just a race for the reds there for Zhao, because especially the position is going to be very much opened up there. And even though he managed to bring the cue ball all the way to the top-hand side of the table, now it will be a chance here for Ding to try and go for those reds, because that's the only thing that he can do at this stage. He can't just try and sit back there and defend, because that's what got him 52 points behind. And he needs to try and make sure that if he does go out of the frame, at least he has got one of those chances to go for a long raid, which he may well miss. But at least it's something for you to look back on and say, well, I'll give it a shot. Whereas if he plays some of the best safeties of the match, but he still doesn't go for one of those long raids, and he loses the frame by a scoreline to 0, it's not really going to be worth it, is it? For now, he's got more than a minute that he's taken on these particular shots, so he's clearly thinking about the attacking option, which he's got a couple of. You know, a red into the corner, which is the most direct of those reds, which usually would be the easiest thing, but it's pretty much impossible for you to try and make it past, you know, the black to be positioned on the left-hand side of the table, so that you can try and take it into the right corner because of the red being in the way. So this is the red that I was talking about as another option, but he needs to try and power the shot through And he's done that, and it's a fantastic shot there by Ding. Look at that. That has to be the shot of the match. I mean, Zhao had some incredible long shots, but this one, sure, well, I'm not sure about the red that he's taken where he had two at the same shot there, and he's still perfectly on the black. Of course, remember, the next shot on the black was the one that he missed. So probably have to wait and see on what Ding is going to be able to do with this particular red, but it certainly seems nice. He just has to try and take the pink away into the middle, which has landed a little bit awkward for, as he's now going to be on the blue spot. Let's see if that will be the case. It won't be the case now. The pink is about to be respotted on his own position, but it is playable into the left middle certainly, and I feel like he will be down into the right corner as well, which, you know, are two of the most important pockets there for Ding Zhuyi, because it allows him to have the pink to be possible into the left and the right hand side of the table. But for now, ideally would have liked to see the ping to be possible into the left-hand side of it. He needs that cable to keep running. He's going to slow down way too quickly. I mean, that's about as close as it can be. In between, he needs to make a decision on whether it is worthy for you to be taking a ping like that. I feel like it is, because he's got the experience of trying to go for the similar red in some of the previous frames, and that one, it's worked out really well. It might have actually been the previous frame as well, and it's worked out really well for him at that stage. So right now, he's sort of entering the part of the match where, you know, he's going to be guaranteed not to be losing the first session, which is a great outcome for him if he takes himself into a 4-2 of a lead. And right now, barring this pink, it's anything but possible. That cue ball, though, seemed like it was going to be close to the corner. No, it wasn't, because he wasn't even stuck in the jaws. It's a fantastic shot once again there by Ding. And to be fair, one thing you have to say, especially since the intermission, and even in the third frame, the amount of shots we've seen from him where you feel like he finds himself in trouble, and then he still finds a really good shot there, where it can be a good shot, it can be a great shot, it can be a magnificent shot that he takes, but he always seems to find himself out of trouble in the next possible time, and then it doesn't really get stuck in those troubles. He sort of plays one of those really good shots, and then from that point onwards, just like he is right now on the black, I mean, clearly going to be a huge favourite to try and take this frame away, because he doesn't seem like he's got anything to be in between himself and Zhao, apart from those 30 points, which, you know, he's got, what is it now, 59 points at the table, so it shouldn't be an issue. And right now, he's looking really nicely to try and take this frame away and leave Zhao to be in a little bit of a spot of bother, because he'll have to take me back to 2019, 2021, where we would see Zhao to be 2 frames behind. He was 1 frame behind with Ronnie. He wasn't any frames behind with Williams. Only 1 frame behind of Chris Wakelin, 1 frame behind of Li Pei Fan. So, yeah, certainly no frame behind of Liam Highfield either. You know, one thing of trying to have such a good opening session against Zhao Xingqiang, but ultimately, if you try and get yourself with a 2 frame of a lead, you could genuinely make it really good. At least 2 session match out of it, whether he'll be able to take it down to 3 sessions. But he certainly gives himself a huge room of flexibility coming into the afternoon session tomorrow, because if he takes, you know, a 4-2 of a lead, which he's still looking for right now, but as I say, the position could not have been any better for him, as he's about to take the pink, then, you know, what is 4-2 after the first 6 frames? Even without you winning any of the remaining 2, you get yourself 4 frames each, which, you know, leaves you with a great chance into the second session, but you could always try and improve on that and take a 5-3 lead against the world champion. Certainly going to sound nicely on your CV. And now he still finds himself 15 points behind. So now, a bit of a decision here to make. The blue is out of position, which doesn't really help his case. You know, the red that he can take into the middle ideally requires the blue or the pink to be taken into the left corner, which is not available to him. So he's going to go for another option of just trying to hold the cue ball back there for the pink. And, well, actually, trying to just hammer the pink towards the middle, which hasn't worked out too badly in relation to his chances of potting the pink, but he still needs to put loads of side on the cue ball to try and get himself within relevant distance of the reds. He doesn't want to be in behind the pink, though. He doesn't want to be in behind the pink. The pink is about to be respotted, and Ding, I can't see with his body language, he's fuming. Nah, he should be all right. Just about anything but comfortable, but he's all right there. To me, I mean, my judgment on the free ball wasn't nice, but that is about as clear as it can be. Well, Ding is having a third look before looking to see if he's going to play this one. Yeah, it should be without any issues, and also like it allows him to try and play that cue ball through the ball colors, which he can try and use the blue if he wants to, but I say he goes for the brown, he leaves himself on the yellow, and then he just makes a straightforward endpoint clearance for him, because he'll find himself 3 points behind now, and then the pink for pretty much the total clearance will very much get him through to a 4-2 of a gap there against Zhao, and he'll certainly be, so far, the biggest surprise of the championship. Haven't seen too many of those. Wilson against Moody was always going to be close. Zhang against Mark Cullen was always going to be close. That was a tight shot there on the yellow. Only just about made that one in. But listen, all that started with a fantastic long red into the corner where it was pretty much 100 seconds that Ding was taking on. And he certainly proved to be worth it in the end, at least for now. That yellow, though, was pretty much the closest point that he was. He doesn't want to be alongside the brown, though. The blue is out of position anyway. He doesn't want to make his life even more difficult than it already is. Yeah, probably that was one of the shots where everything had to be perfect on the brown. He sort of lost it on the yellow. He didn't recover that on the green. And now he's going to have that brown to be taken with a cue ball to try and take the long way around. So that's a bad shot that, I mean, he's going to have to try and take this blue into the yellow pocket while still needing the pink. He's 6 points clear. The pink will get him, 11 points clear, which is not going to be enough. He needs the blue, and he also needs to try and play that cue ball with loads of side spin, or at least backspin out there. But make sure you don't drop it into the middle. So many variables now for this to go wrong. He needs this blue, and he needs the pink, and that was always going to go wrong. Unless he flukes it into the middle, that was close. But in the end, the blue stays out of the yellow pocket, and then off the right middle as well. Off the left middle, I should say. It's a really bad finish to this potential brilliant clearance there of 78 points. In the end, it is going to be Ding Junhui to come back to seat. And 52 points right now for Zhao. The blue, the pink and the black that he needs to take. Can he try and take the blue into the middle? It's a very tight line. Was he even trying to take that blue away? Or was he trying to get that cue ball to be in behind the pink? I felt like he was trying to do a little bit of both there, because he played that shot with way too much power to try and expect that blue to come in and not jump out of the pocket. But anyway, it's now 6 points, which doesn't really give anything to Ding Junhui because he still needs 2 shots to be taken. It's a double kiss, which will leave that cue ball to be in the pocket. I don't know how he'd done it, but it was very difficult to try and find that line for the cue ball to be dropped into the green pocket. He can't believe it as he walks away back to his seat. And the reason why, not even 5 points, but the ball in hand and the long shot with Zhao to the table. It's a mix which usually delivers an upset. This is a perfect line, a trademark move for Zhao, and he doesn't miss those. As much as it's still a super difficult shot, he just doesn't miss those. And the previous foul, of course, means Zhao doesn't need the total clearance. I said 4-2 is going to be monumental for a start for Ding Junhui. It seems like it won't be happening right now, and Zhao realizes he doesn't need the black because of that careless shot on the blue. Zhao manages to complete a comeback. Ding Junhui lost himself on the brown and wasn't able to do anything to try and recover to be on the blue. And at the end stage, it is Zhao that scores 11 points, and with that foul of 5 points at the end, he puts himself 3 frames down to 3, with both Ding Junhui and Zhao sharing equal number of frames. And now it's going to be, well, the remaining 2 to see whether it is going to be 5 frames to 3 or a potential draw there for one of the players to still look for the lead to be taken into the afternoon session tomorrow. But for now, both of them are probably going to have to be satisfied with neither of them losing out on too many of those frames, because 6-2 probably would have been a bit harsh on either one of the players, and right now it can't be happening. 5-3 in favour of Ding Junhui, I would say for now. It's probably going to be a fair scoreline, but it doesn't always happen to be fair when you have the World Championship second round to be played, especially if you've got the clear favourite against the underdog. Just ask Karen Wilson against Mark Cullen. Even though those two haven't got their clear favourite, they're still battling out for the 14 frame, where Wilson has got a break of 12 points and a gap of 18 points as well, despite 91 points still at the table out there. So there's plenty of snooker to be played in the frame of 14, as we're now going to be down to 2 of the last frames to be played. So 2 hours, 17 minutes, which is not bad at all for the average paced match, especially with, so many things have happened already. And now Wilson is looking to try and continue his break, as he's looking to be taking the blue on. Can't really see behind that stand, so let me just try and get the stream underway as well. But for now, it's 71% for Zhao to be winning the first session, which I felt like at the start of the session it would have been relevant. It's not really relevant right now, because I would say it's 25% for the draw, and then the rest of the 75 can be probably equally spread in between the two players in case either one will take the lead. But, you know, sometimes, as Wilson plays a bit of a bad shot there, as he's going to be hampered by another red. This is a nasty red for you to be cutting into the corner. Let's see how the tip, the technique, and the cue are going to be working for him. And he's taking that one superbly well. Let's see the cue ball and his bounce. He doesn't want to be behind the reds. And that is close. But it seems like he's going to be disappointed here. Although, is that a little bit of a playful reaction? Or is that about as disappointment as he can be? Oh, it's difficult to say, you know. It's really difficult to say. I feel like he's just about able to get through, because he's probably looking for a red to be taken into the middle. That is close. And that is way too close for comfort there. As Zhao Xington and Ding Zhuyi are about to start their frame. And that's a bad start there from Zhao Xington. He didn't need to be doing like that, because just as I said, he had such a good chance to try and make that sixth frame to be a real revolution for him. And once again, you can see that shot on the green where all he has to do is to be taking the brown and blue, and then he's always going to be on the pink as well for the frame to be won. Right now, it will be down to a really nice shot that he's taking again into the corner. So just seems like that consistency of being ahead from Zhao Xington seems to be missing right now. Whether it will be down to, once again, facing one of his heroes, or is it going to be down to just pure, you know, not having the great part of his game. But Ding now has to try and make this one work for himself, and he does a Zhao Xington of taking a good red and then missing the black off the spot. Yes, it wasn't easy because of the cue ball being super straight on the black, but still, you have to make sure that black disappears. That wasn't the case, and now Zhao Xington is about to come back to the table again and take the red into the middle, which he doesn't usually miss. And once again, just because he had a bad break-off doesn't really mean that he's going to lose his touch of the previous frame where, despite it only being 11 points, to add to those 36 earlier on in the frame, it was still Allen 7, Wilson 6. It is for now, but I'm pretty sure it's about to change, because even if Wilson doesn't win that frame in the current visit, he'll give the turn back to Allen, and he has. So 38 points of a lead, back to Mark Allen, but he doesn't really have anything on here. So, you know, 67 points available, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. For now, Zhao Xington is trying to take the cue ball into those reds, and at least he got the colour in, but it seems like it's the only good thing that has happened during that shot, because he's certainly not going to be on the red here. That's disappointing into the break. Once again, we've seen a decent spell of high-value breaks there to be coming in and out, and pretty much every single mistake was punished at that stage, with breaks of 80, 81, 64 and 116 to be flying in. And right now you can see there's only 1 point to be separating the players, and the red looks really good there from Zhao Xington. That's the way for you to recover out of a difficult situation. Ding Zhuyi has been doing that for majority of those 6 frames, and now it is time for Zhao Xington to try and step up as well. But replays, my friend, this week. See you soon. Yes, absolutely. And if you have got the ability, feel free to tune in for Saturday tomorrow. It will be afternoon session where he's going to feature Zhao Xington against Ding Zhuyi part 2, and then part 1 of the evening session in between John Higgins and Ronnie O'Sullivan. Plenty more of snooker to be seen there as the World Championship really gets himself into the gear. And you could probably say next match is going to be the next gear of the World Championship. We've gone the gear 1. We've gone past the gear 1. And the only negative thing about it is we're going to run out of gears when we get to the final. But it's still going to be very far away from the reality for now, as we still don't know, you know, any more than just a single player through to the third round, with Sean Murphy doing that really well against Zhao Gadon, making it down to just 2 Chinese players potentially to try and make it into the third round, after 11 of those have been through to the round 1 of the main draw. Because remember, no matter who wins, can only be one of the Chinese players in this match to be through to the third round. And then Weezer against Mark Selby is going to be up against trying to get through each other after a really good opening round campaign against Jack Jones and Li Beifan respectively. And once again, just like it was for Wilson, where he had the red to be hampered by the right-hand side of the table, seems like Zhao Xington has found himself in exactly the same position, although, I mean, I say although, he's got an easy red to be taken into the corner. I'm not really sure why he's not looking at the plan. No, he's looking at the plan now. He needs to be taking that plan because he's got no chance of playing through that red with so much power that he's going to be on the pink. And forget about playing for the black, of course, with it being out of position. So alternative being for the blue, yeah, he's not going to be able to get anywhere near as much Q power if he's going to try and bridge over. So with the plant, at least it gives you some sort of availability, but I'm not really sure why, he's not taking the plant on, because there's limited distance in between those reds. And that's maybe why, that was the reason, because whatever it was, he certainly drifted that plant away, all the way to the far end of the jaw. Don't know what happened here. I mean, was he trying to be clever and to impact or whatever was happening there? I'm not sure what it was, but anyway, it's going to be a great chance to be given away by Zhao Xington over to Ding Zhuyi here. And as long as he keeps that cue ball to be at the table, which he has, not potted into the left middle, which very much the prime task for him, he's still going to be nicely on the blue. He's got a nice line of those reds to be taken into the left corner. And yeah, he's got a great chance to try and play the cue ball through the two cushions. Make sure he's got a couple of those reds to choose from. And even though the black is going to be out of position, the pink is going to be on the black ball spot right now. He's got no chance of trying to, sort of respot the pink onto its own spot for now. So it does look like after 1-all, 2-all, 3-all, it is going to be a great chance for Ding Zhuyi to be finding himself ahead in this match for the 4th time out of 4 potential times that he could have been, in relation to always regaining your advantage into the first session, which shows great consistency, but also shows how, how clear it could have been of Zhao Xington. This could have easily been a search for a 5-2 of a lead instead of 4-3 in his advantage, but not being able to get over the line in the previous frame. So it seems like, he's played a bit of a bad joke with him. Now just trying to be lined up for the raids, carefully taken into the corner. Once again, as I say, he's got such a great variety of those where he won't run out of reds. Even if he has to try and make a little cannon with them, he won't run out of reds until the end point of a frame. And by that point, he's got one of those reds to be on the side cushion, but you may as well keep it there, because if anything, it limits the chances for Zhao Xington to come back to the table and produce a total clearance himself, with Ding clearly having plans to try and be the one ahead in 2 shots time. About to cut the gap down to just 2 points and then extend his gap down to 4 points out there on the pink. So 21 points right now for Ding Zhuyi, and just having a look in relation to the reds, he may be able to try and sort of keep that split to the pack for one more shot there, or he can try and do it now. Oh, he's going to be really close in relation to the red that he can see into the middle. The pink may be able to squeeze in between those 2 reds anyway, as that's not the case. So he's going to have to try and go for a red into the middle, which is still fine that he's got it, but it's not quite as easy as it could have been had he been able to see a couple of more inches of that red to be taken into the left-hand side of the table. This one can easily be missed, and he can be missed in both sides of the pocket, but this time around he plays that shot about as well as he could have been, using the pocket very wisely so that he tries to sort of just drop that red in with no pace through the back-end jaw, which of course opens up the angle better for the cue ball, allows it to be played further on the blue, and gives him the top side of a blue, which he was looking for previously. Now, pot success for Ding is going to be up at 92% in comparison to 91 for Ding Zhuyi's pot success is going to be up at 92%. Zhao Xington is going to be up at 91%. So, just trying to carefully take the red into the left corner and make sure he will be played. He will be playing for the pink here. Just try not to be straight, because that will force him to be heading for pretty much a topspin shot. He can't be playing this shot with backspin. Oh, I mean, that is way too straight. So he's going to have to try and force himself to try and take the shot with backspin, which always creates a bit of a narrow angle there in relation to the other reds. But it seems like, because of how close he managed to get through to the red, seems like he's actually managed to play the shot in all right fashion there. So still needs one more red at least after this one to be taken with the pink, and he may well need even more than that, because right now he's 18 points, the lead that he has. So it's going to be 24 with the pink, so he's going to need 2 more reds there to be taken. The good news is that, the third red is pretty much impossible for you to get in behind of without, trying to cannon that red into the open play. As the pink is about to be respotted into its own spot there, it's going to be a great timing there for Ding, because he gives him a choice of trying to play for the blue or the pink, and you can see with his marking there that he tries to give to himself. He's going to try and play for the pink, and just looking to see if there is going to be an angle to try and drop the cue ball in behind the red. Once again, doesn't want to take any chances, especially after what happened in the previous frame of leaving out an opportunity for Zhao Xington. He's trying to take the pace away from the pink, which is always risky, and he's opened up a little bit too much of the angle. He would have liked to keep that cue ball close to the side cushion, because now it's difficult for me to tell if this red is easier into the green pocket or into the right middle, because you technically have got more of the pocket to aim at the right middle, but it is more of a cut than you have if you take the shot into the green pocket as well. But the problem with the green pocket is that he's missed it, his number one problem, and he's missed it by a mile as well. You had to cue that one. You can't just try and do a sort of a bit of a push shot, which is try and push through it. It doesn't work like that, because he leaves the cue ball to be in no man's land, which is not ideal, but also he limits the way that he can try and strike that red nicely for you. So now Zhao Xington, he was sensing that there was a chance to try and repeat the history of the previous frame. In the same time, Ding still acknowledges that he's managed to block off another red. Yeah, Zhao Xington's gone for a double into the middle. He was really unlucky there, because once again, despite him playing that shot with so much power, he somehow got both of the jaws in the middle. First the far end, and it's sort of bouncing towards the pocket, but bounced a bit too much. And in the end, as he catches the front jaw there, it leaves Ding away, potentially with a double as well. The interesting thing with Ding is, he's got the black to be safe, which of course Zhao Xington will need at this stage. So now, what's it going to be here for Ding Zhuyi? What can he try and what sort of do here? Is he going to try and put this red into a safe position? He probably will, to be fair to him, but at the same time, I'd have to say he will be down to just making sure. Let me just try and get this score sheet underway. So he's got 43 points at the table. Yeah, just has to make sure that he does the same thing of covering the red closer to the green spot. As to be fair, he puts the second red to be super close to the green spot as well, but ultimately on the upper side of the green, which makes it not visible to Zhao Xington. So it's a good shot there by Ding, making sure he doesn't go for any more of a temptation that he had in the previous frame, with the 14th frame in the match of Karen Wilson and Mark Cullen now being over. So it's now Wilson 7, Mark Cullen 7 as well. 14 frames in, and still nothing to separate the players. Same here as well, by the way, because technically it is going to be 3 frames each. It's a risky shot there from Zhao Xington, but it seems like he got the perfect line on the cue ball. He hasn't actually put the green safe, which is good for him, but he hasn't got the cue ball to be perfectly safe as well. It's a really creative shot there that he's played, but at the end, seems like he's played that one well enough so that he doesn't leave any chances away for Ding Zhuyi to be easy. But at the same time, the red next to the brown is going to be possible into the yellow pocket. And the red next to the green pocket is also going to be a potential threat there for him. He's gone for the one to the yellow pocket. He doesn't want to bring the black into play, and he's done just that. So now, he's certainly thrown all the caution out of the wind. Whatever you say about Ding, he needed to make sure that cue ball was nowhere near the black, because he may repeat the history of the previous frame. Right now, apart from this red, which I still would expect Zhao Xington to get into the green pocket, and him being on the collar, there's nothing that can stop him from winning this frame. And he's got that red right now. Once again, at the second where the position becomes available, Zhao Xington is there to turn up. And what a turnaround this could be. 25 plays 55, but Zhao Xington finds himself being a massive favourite here, especially if he takes his green well. And he's going to be on the right side of that red. As long as he's not on the top side of it, into the green pocket, then he's going to be absolutely fine to try and, playing the shot with loads of backspin. He's going to be 27 behind, 35 at the table, which leaves him with having the ability to take whichever colour he wants. But this could be 2 massive blows to Ding Zhuyi and his chances of being anywhere near the third round. Seems like the whatever it was, the bee or the fly on the table is going to be a Ding Zhuyi fan because he's trying to stop Zhao Xington, but it hasn't worked out. Destroying the cloth there a little bit as well. But at the end point, the brown is taken, and now it is going to be the break of 9 points, which could still be a break of up to 36 points, which he will need, of course, for him to be the frame winner. And that 55 points, 54 points of a break, 55 points of the advantage for Ding Zhuyi seems like it's about to be brought to nothing, with 5 more colours being available. The black is going to be the only one out of position, but of course he was on the side cushion beforehand. Now it is going to be right over the right middle, which is still on the top side of it, which makes that shot on the pink a little bit more sort of difficult for Zhao Xington. But at the same time, as long as he doesn't do a ding on the brown, or has he done a ding on the brown here? He sort of has, you know, because he's very straight on the blue, and if anything, he's on the wrong side of it. So this is going to be interesting, because technically, of course, it allows him to have that angle to try and force that pink into the corner, play the cue ball away to the top hand side of the table, which he would have had to do anyway. But this pink is not going to be easy to try and pot right now. This is the shot for the frame, and it is going to be the shot for the frame if the cue ball slows down in time, which it will. Absolutely perfect positional play there for the black, because if the cue ball carried on running, he would have not been on the black. But at the end, despite making his life a little bit tougher at the end, it is still Zhao Xington that makes it over the finish line, and it's now going to be back-to-back frame steals, and still somehow, after 6 frames, Zhao Xington hasn't led for a single one of those frames right now. With a break of 36 points, he manages to do so for the first time after frame number 7, and now surely does it at the point when it matters. Now we will be down to the 8th frame, and at this stage, surely there's no way that Ding Zhuyi is going to be able to get himself back to the action, because now he's lost 2 frames on the bounce for the first time in the entirety of the match. And let's see if he can try and make the probably still an unfair end to the session, because for me, anything that is not a Ding Zhuyi win is an unfair end, because of him clearly being the better player, clearly having more chances, clearly doing more of those chances, but just missing that final touch, missing that final ball to be potted. And he seems to have played a really bad joke with him here. And listen, it could be a bit bad joke. It could still be a perfect resolution for him, because he will be down to Zhao Xington or Ding Zhuyi to try and battle it out for the 8th frame, the last frame of the session, at least what it should be in the format of 8-8-9 in relation to the first, second and third sessions format. As now you can see, total points to be scored, 366 for Ding Zhuyi, 367 for Zhao Xington. It could not have been any closer so far, despite Zhao even making a century and taking 1 more frame than Ding Zhuyi. I think Ding will win this match. He could, but he won't be able to win this session, as Zhao Xington right now is going to be heading for the final frame of the session with his own break-off shot. And now he's got a really good chance to try and extend his lead and be somehow the only player in this match to have led by more than a single frame, despite being on the losing side of it very much until the frame number 7. And well, what do you do here if you're Ding Zhuyi? Because you've got a red to be taken with a long shot. Safety success 79% from Zhao, 78% from Ding. It's not quite at the level where you want it to be, but it was always going to be like that with 2 great attacking players. He needs to try and play this red for the black to give him a little bit of confidence. He got nowhere near it. He got a lot closer to the double kiss of that red than he was to the corner pocket. And he sort of managed to get away with this one because he doesn't have the cue ball to be too high. So I feel like the red, which he has technically left for Zhao Xington, is not going to be, you know, available to him. Although, you never quite know. If you can try and take this one as a double, it's still going to be dangerous. He's trying to go for it. It's a nice line. It's a really nice line out there. And it's the perfect line. Listen, sometimes 1 chance and half a chance that you give away to Zhao Xington is going to be enough for him to punish you. And that certainly was the way for you to try and get that break started. Now he needs to have a couple of really good shots here as he tries to delay the split of the pack here from the black. And now making sure that he gets himself through to another red to be taken here. A ball spotted, 109 each before that red disappeared, making that 110 now for Zhao Xington. Average shot time, 20 seconds for Zhao Xington, 26 seconds for Ding Zhuyi. So then, Is he going to have a chance to try and split the reds from the cue ball? He needs to do that now. He seems to have got the perfect touch, and he seems to have got the perfect outcome in relation to he's still on the red, and he's certainly got a couple of those to be in the open play. The pink is going to go into the corner. Zhao has got nothing in between himself and having a comfortable frame lead here to try and take this one all the way and somehow turn this match from being one shot away from 4-2 down to still be on the verge of having a 5-3 lead at the end of it, which is going to be absolutely baffling. How Ding Junhui is not even going to be level for this session, but of course if you're not level, then you've lost it by 2 frames, which to me is absolutely beyond belief there, especially with how well Ding Junhui was starting this match. Apart from the first frame, apart from maybe some bits of the 4th frame as well, but apart from that, he's been rock solid there in his break building skills, just not being able to find that finishing touch. But something that Zhao has certainly been able to find so far, and let's see if he's going to be able to replicate that with a break of 23 points and counting. So many more reds that he's got available, and surprisingly to me, he's played further red into the middle, which is a little bit strange. Maybe didn't have the angle to try and keep that cue on the other side of the bunch. But this may give him a chance to try and force a couple more of those reds away from the main bunch, and he's played that shot superbly well again. Just makes you wonder that you shouldn't doubt him, because clearly he's done that for a reason. And despite being lined up on a bit of a difficult shot into the middle, it certainly allowed him to have a lot more easier of the reds to be on his way to. And now 31 points as the lead that he has, making that 37 with the pink. And look at the position that he has available to him. Pretty much perfect. Writing for a century break here, but right now he still needs to focus on getting over the line. We've seen the experience of Ding Junhui where sometimes a lead off, well, he didn't really have the lead in the 6th frame, but he certainly had the chance for a total clearance to try and overturn that lead for Zhao. He wasn't able to do that, and now Zhao is the one trying to ask the questions. 38 points being the lead before the black disappeared, making that 45 right now. And could well make this the quickest frame that we've seen so far in the match. And for the match that has lasted something like 3 hours, even less so. Really quick, really enjoyable, loads of drama, loads of high quality. In the end, not quite enough of a finishing from Ding Junhui's point of view, but he still makes a game out of it. With the 5-3 being very much on the horizon now, especially with 52 points of a gap, 14 seconds average shot time, making that 53 now with another raid that he's taken. So 83 still at the table. And yeah, getting himself a great chance now to try and end on a high here. Because he still has got 6 and make that 7 reds available to himself as he makes that 60 points as the advantage. So still going for a potential 1-4-3 here, despite using the blue and the pink a couple of times. Now just trying to stay on the black for now and making sure that he's got those reds to be available. And even though he needs to take them in a very particular order, he should be able to do that with no problem. As when it comes to getting over the line, he just has a double look towards the black, which he wasn't really happy with something previously. Oh, he's missed that. Wow. I mean, he had a double look on the black, and it seems like whether he was down to the momentum disruptor or something, but he certainly had a great chance to try and show Ding Junhui how it should be done. In the end, he's gone and done it, Ding Junhui, because he's got a break of 61 points, but he's not over the line here. And this is going to be a great chance for Ding to try and get himself back in the equation here. He's got more than enough points available. Zhao does the best meme impression that he can. Sat in his chair drinking water, but at the end point, he's still going to be very much in this frame thing somehow. I don't know how. Because it genuinely was the black of the spot to be taken, trying to play that cue ball for the red, which was a nice gift to Ding. And that would have been the frame ball. But of course, with the black to be staying out, it's not even going to be too close in terms of the points there. Ding can do whatever he wants with the colours within reason. And then he could still go and make a total clear, which is not going to be easy because he's got a red over the right side cushion there, close to the middle. So I felt like he should be able to try and make contact with that red, even now potentially, if he tries to do that. But deciding to try and keep that red until the end because he had a sort of a difficult red to be taken anyway. Couldn't take a chance, and also, to be fair, it's a bit of a weird suggestion from me because you push the red closer to the green pocket with how far it is right now. Surely you want to be doing that from the other way around, and do that from the green, brown or yellow, where you sort of cannon that red slightly towards the middle. And you will be down to 13 points right now for Ding Zhuohui to score 48 points to be behind off, and now remaining with 59 as well. So still very comfortable there for Ding Zhuohui, and making sure they are going to have a chance to be taking the red into the middle. And then you get a decent opportunity to finish off the easy part of the task with 2 more reds being available. And then 1 more, which you still needs to take care of. Not too sure what the noise was distracting there of Ding Zhuohui, but he certainly made him look towards the right-hand side of the table. Now just carefully making sure that he doesn't do a Zhao Ton and still pots the pink into the left-hand side of the table here. So 41 right now. Points are the disadvantage, as he's going to carefully take this red away. Make sure he positions himself on the lower side of a blue, which he has been losing plenty of those points, to be fair, it has to be said. So it's just going to be down to making sure that he's still got enough of those. To be fair, if he takes the pink away, he's still going to be fine of like something like 8 points or something that he can lose before getting himself through to a little bit of trouble. Had a little bit of a worried look there in relation to the red, but he's going to be able to get a little bit of the angle of it and just try and carefully play the red into the yellow pocket, push that cue balls to be heading past the left side cushion. And once again, in the other match, it is Mark Cullen that takes an 8-7 of a lead over Karen Wilson. Karen has been leading by 6 frames to 5, but ever since that point, it's either been a draw or Mark Cullen's in the lead. Now it's the shot of the green, trying to push the red over the middle. And has he done enough there? Ding was trying to do the best that he could with his body, trying to basically force that cue ball to be having a touch with the red, and he could not have done that touch any better. And the fact that he's done that with his body certainly helped him as well. Oh, I mean, has he miscounted there? I mean, he sort of has. I felt like he got away with the fact that he's put the reds over the right middle. He didn't need to be doing what he has done, and now he still needs to be taking the brown here, which, I mean, he's all right in relation to the position for, but he can't afford to be taking the yellow because he'll need a snooker, and he can't afford to be taking the green, which is not positioned for anyway, because that would only allow him to go for a respot. He didn't want to be on the top side of a blue whilst having to play for the yellow. This brown is awkward. He's just about rolled that one in, and this time around he's not going to be awkwardly placed for the yellow. So after all that drama, it does seem like honesty, and well, the honest result certainly is going to prevail here, because it would have been absolute robbery, and I'm pretty sure Zhao Ton would agree with me, if the first session of the match would have ended with him taking the 5-3 of a lead in the end. It does seem like at the end point, Zhao Ton has done a Ding Zhuohui, and despite having all those chances to win that frame, 61 points was the best that he could manage, and the man that has been so clinical in the worlds of Sheffield, the Crucible, seems like he's proved that he's only human and he can still make mistakes. No mistake on the brown this time, as he gets himself perfectly positioned for the brown to be taken. And you get yourself lined up to try and play the shot from, the side cushion to be on the top side of a blue. Once again, he doesn't want to be too close to this one, but he's still going to be lined up nicely for the blue now to be taken. So behind by 17 points, and he can try and clinch this one away by just a single point to make it the third highest break for himself there, the 5th highest break in the match as well. So then he's still a little bit awkwardly placed in the pink, but it always have to be like that for him to try and get in behind the black. Now that cue ball needs to go past it and get himself lined up through to the black to be taken into the corner. Now, 8 frames later, it all comes down to the last black to see the scoreline for this frame. And for this first session, it will be an absolute score draw in between 2 great legends of Chinese snooker, and it is Ding Zhuohui that has got the last laugh as he wins the final frame of the first session by 62 to 61 points, 1 point in it, and he probably tells you everything you need to know about this particular encounter, and long may continue, because this by far has been the best match of the championship for me. Only 8 frames so far, but what a great show it has been for him. Ding is going to be kind enough to sign the pass for one of the fans from from the crowd, and he will be down to be doing that for pretty much plenty of them as well. Fortunately, the guy with the headphones didn't get that, but anyway, he got a great performance out there from Ding Junhui and Zhao Xingtong, and they'll be back 2:30 tomorrow, hoping to see more of the action out there from Ding Junhui and Zhao Xingtong. For now, it is absolutely all square from two giants from China, and it is going to be an 8-7 of a lead in favour of Mark Allen as he and Karen Wilson approach the end of the second session for them. Right now, it has been a great entertainment and a great show. Make sure to be back for the Saturday afternoon and the evening as we approach the first session of the match of Zhao Xingtong against, oh, by the way, 428 against 428. Thank you for everyone telling me that. 4 frames each and 428 points to be scored. I mean, you're not going to see that in any other match so far in the championship. Nothing to separate two great players out there. But right now, one of them will have to take some sort of a lead in the second session, or even potentially try and take a very commanding lead of winning 8 frames on the bounce. You never know. Anyway, stay tuned in for the afternoon match tomorrow, and also be back for John Higgins against Ronnie O'Sullivan, part 1 of the 2 Class of 92 legends colliding in round 2. Stay tuned in, thanks for watching, and see you all soon.